tell me when we're good? All right. Good evening. I am going to call to order our Tuesday, April 28th, 2026 Special Planning Commission meeting. And we'll have a flag salute.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Made it hard for me.
Okay, item 2, roll call and quorum establishment. Kim, please.
Okay, good evening. Roll call. Commissioner Higuera.
Here.
Commissioner Pardee.
Here.
Commissioner Stearns, welcome.
Here.
Commissioner McDowell appears to be absent. Commissioner Sarian.
Here.
And Chair Findlay.
Here. Thank you. So we have a quorum. And just a quick note, part of our quorum is our new planning commissioner, Tim Stearns. Welcome to the team, Tim. All right, our next item, number 3, public comment. This is a time for folks to address the Planning Commission on an item that is not on our agenda this evening. If you'd like to come up and speak, come to the podium, introduce yourself. You get a maximum of 3 minutes to let us know what's on your mind. If anybody would like to come speak to us, please do.
Hello, folks. I'm Araya. I live here in Mount Shasta. We are so happy that you guys are here tonight. I know sometimes it's tricky to get everybody together, but I just want to say a big thank you, honestly. The first time that Afa and I got involved in all this stuff locally was when we showed up here a little over a year ago and we sat for the Planning Commission and you guys were talking about the tiny house ordinance that you were thinking about doing at the time, and that's something we're both really passionate about, affordable housing for our community. It's been a big struggle for a lot of people in our community and really nationwide and beyond. So we really appreciate you guys being willing to kind of step forward out of the ordinary to kind of run in the front, and maybe sometimes we take some hits for being a little out of the ordinary and doing things differently. I know we do. So we applaud you for moving forward with something maybe a little out there, maybe a little progressive, and really trying to find solutions for the community. The Planning Commission, you know, obviously your recommendation helped the City Council move forward. The community's really behind it. Everyone is really trying to find affordable solutions. We've done a lot of work with the city since then. I joined the Tiny House Industry Association with our little movement. I was able to connect the president of that association with city staff. So there's some really interesting things happening as far as making sure that our ordinance stays as strong as possible. We have a lot of local cities around us who are also looking to us as leaders in this movement, and how can we provide solutions for our working class and our workforce and all the first responders and our aging population. There's a lot of people who really need more affordable solutions. So it's really been encouraging and refreshing to see government officials really stepping forward and doing what's best for the people, even if not everybody necessarily likes it. So I'm just really excited about finding solutions for the community in all kinds of different ways, and just want to say thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Namaste, yatae, and aloha.
Aloha.
That's mine. She's gorgeous. My name is Afa, and we live right here in Mount Shasta. And ever since that recommendation was passed to council, first and second reading, and we brought 20, 30 people to testify and strengthen the now living ordinance. And we've been to manufacturers down south in Cottonwood. They make a lot of tiny houses, and we got relationships. We brought a tiny house up here with Evan's help to bring a tiny house up here for people to touch over Earth Day, just last Saturday. So I've been to City Council in Weed at least 3 times, 2 listening sessions, Dunsmuir a couple times, and taken a shot at Wairika's mayor, and the HOA at Lake Shastina, all with the intention of furthering the ordinance into other cities. Slowly, 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 but surely, it'll go across the county. It might take a little while, but the paperwork that you guys have hammered out and pushed together is moving through a lot faster. So boots on the ground should be coming around soon. We're talking a lot with the city about extra land they might have around here that might be too small for a single-family house, but might be just big enough for 1 or 2 little tiny houses as a prototype project in mind. So that's fun. Like she said, the president that wrote all the ordinances for down south, he was actually laughing a little bit, kind of funny, because a lot of the terminologies inside the ordinance was the language that he wrote for the other cities. And so when he brought it over here, he said, in 1 year, they already changed the language, so maybe we might just upgrade the language 1 little word to strengthen it before Weed and Dunsmuir takes it on. So again, I'd like to applaud you for taking on alternative affordable housing. And so for a few little whiles, I've been waiting for this moment. I'd like to make a small little suggestion that we move on to other alternative affordable housing options. I don't know what the next lowest hanging fruit example might be to talk about. I just like to say shipping container houses seems to be another alternative affordable housing that I'm sure we can find a lot of data from a lot of different cities of how that might work out, that we can grab and kind of gnaw on and go through the whole process all over again. I figure if I don't say it right now, it might never show up for a while. So we might as well say it now, and in a little while from now, we might have another form. Again, it's just low-hanging fruit. I don't know if 3D printed housing is another, is that 3 minutes?
You got 30 seconds.
Okay, 30 seconds, thank you. I don't know if 3D printing, I work at a cement concrete place, 3D printed houses is another option. And I think in Reading is like one of the nationwide's biggest 3D printing, so you can 3D print houses pretty easy. Kit houses, there's a lot of those, very affordable out there options. There's shipping container houses. That's very, just like tiny houses, there's a lot of ordinance out there that we can copy and paste. I'm just suggesting tonight, let's consider that. Wow! Get off the mic! Thank you, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for all you guys do.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come speak with us about something not on our agenda? Yeah.
But I do. My name's Evan Drake. I'm a builder and a member of the Siskiyou Housing Alliance, and I just wanted to update the commission that we're currently doing some survey work regarding housing in the county, and we'll be sharing some of our findings with Kim when we have a large enough sample to pull from. So that's happening. We may also actually have some help from the city in distributing it. So we'll see. Thanks.
Lovely. Thank you. Did I see somebody else?
I'm Therese Swenson, and I have been given an opportunity to do a presentation with the city planning tonight. But there's a few things I want to talk about in the 3-minute segment, if you'll start my time. We haven't had a lot of meetings with the planning department, and I have felt like there's been many things that the community's unaware of. We don't have a newspaper, and we don't have TV to be able to get messages across, and not everybody has Wi-Fi and does neighborhood or does Facebook and all that. Some people are from the last century, and we need to see things. So
You try to use the mic as much as possible, so we
I'm
can
sorry.
hang on. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. One of the things that I was unaware of till I went back and started looking at meetings is something called daylighting the creek. And I'm not sure anybody else in this town, am I the only person that doesn't know about that? Because they're talking about taking in between Ace and the Crystal Shop and bringing water to the surface. Does that mean you're going to lose parking places? I want a straight answer from somebody. Is that yes or no?
And so we don't typically
Oh, I'm sorry.
respond during
So,
this.
so I'm concerned that, like, all of a sudden at one of the council meetings, they talked about graveling, and I felt like there's been some things that have been mentioned in council meetings that were really planning kind of things, because we weren't having planning meetings. But they're going to pave some property across from Weston's, in between Ace and the welding shop, for parking. And I'm wondering, is that to replace the parking that's going to be lost on Castle? Is that a forethought? I just am trying to understand, because I go to so many meetings and parking is an issue. And one of the things that came up when I actually canvassed the neighborhood was that the people that have the businesses are parking on the street in front of their businesses. And the question came up about parking permits. And I'm really against the idea of having a meter reader and having to do collection and having to give somebody a pass, and if they lose their job, do they use it? There were some really good questions that came up at one of the meetings about parking passes. So I'm sort of against that idea. And I want to remind all the people, Kim and I talked about this before, because she told me there were complaints, like people parking in front of their own business and where tourists are having to walk to them. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. That was something. Also, Lake Street is really important, that people are going to understand the staging of when their property might be affected by all the work that's going to be done. I think that's so important. I know you're going to be having public meetings about the landing, and that's really important for people to tune in and find out, is that going to be every week or every month? Oh, no answer. Sorry.
Yeah, right, so, yeah.
Thank you.
have 5 more seconds.
I just wanted to bring up a few issues that aren't in my presentation about why I think May matters. Thank you. Cinco de Mayo.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, looks like we are going to move on from public comment to our consent agenda. However, this evening, I believe we don't have anything on our consent agenda. So next item is going to be item 5, our public hearing for a tentative parcel map for 4 condominiums at 804 Carmen Drive. Kim.
Okay, thank you very much. Apologies for the voice. I am getting over from being under the weather, but we'll do this. So agenda number 5 is for a condominium at 804 Carmen. This is a structure that was built a couple of years ago. There are people inside the units that are renting the units already. The proposal before the Planning Commission tonight is simply to approve a condominium conversion map so that in the future, the developer has an option to, instead of leasing or renting the units to people who would rent them, they would have the option of selling the individual units to people who then would be purchasing the units sometime down the road. I don't know what the time frame is, but the legality in doing that is to have a condominium map. So that's what's before us tonight. The staff report packet has a couple of letters. When this item was supposed to go before the Planning Commission in March, and it was agendized for March, a couple of letters came in from members of the community. And so now that we have an extra month, I wanted to take an opportunity to address those comments. So in addition to your staff report packets, on your desks in front of you is a memo where, in recognition of the public comments, I took a stab at updating some conditions of approval language and also some resolution language, just to make it very clear what the project scope is, what the description is. There is a letter that speaks to trash, people letting their trash sit outside, and also people improperly disposing of snow. There was a comment letter about that. So in recognition of those comments, there are 2 new conditions that are included in your memo tonight. One, number 9 is trash, number 10 is snow, and it's language in there to encourage everybody living at these units to adhere to the best practices. Let me see. There was also a comment from Ms. Reish about consistency with the general plan and also the zoning designation. We found out today that if you look hard enough between the general plan and the housing element, the land use element, the housing element, and also the zoning code, there are very minor but significant enough discrepancies. At the end of the day, I don't think it's worth the commission's time to worry about. It's a cleanup item that we'll address when we go through with the land use element, general plan land use element update in the next few months. But the bottom line is that staff does find that the project is consistent with the general plan land use designation of medium density residential, which allows, without a density bonus, up to 10 units. And the zoning code designation of R2, also medium density residential. This project is consistent with those designations, so I don't think there's anything to worry about there. But I added language in the resolution just so that it's clear to everybody that the project is consistent. Staff is finding that to be consistent with the general plan and the zoning code and the land use element and the housing element. Let's see. I believe that is it. I will stop here and let the commission ask clarification questions. The development team is in the audience tonight, so if there are questions specifically for the developer or the engineer, we can ask those questions to them, and they are here to answer that tonight.
Great, thank you, Kim.
Sure.
All right, commissioners, how about if we start with you? Do you have questions, clarifications to get from Kim at this time?
I'm recusing myself from agenda items 5 through 7 tonight.
Thank you very much. Noted.
Okay. All right, usually then the person doesn't stay up here for this part and you go sit in the back, remember? Or you
If you'd like to hang out in the lobby, we'll call you back when agendas 5, 6, and 7 are complete.
No problem.
Thank you.
Sorry we didn't talk about that ahead of time.
Don't go too far.
Okay, Belinda.
So the trash thing is important to me because I see that, I look at that property and it's not real easy, and if people put their trash inside the garage, they won't have any room for their car because the garages are tiny. So being as how this is an HOA, the HOA could build a trash room for all tenants to put their trash in because it's an HOA. Rather than, they're not individually property owned. You know, I mean, their dwellings are owned, but the property is not. So I'm not sure that I'm comfortable with taking a garage space that's so small that you're going to end up with no cars parked in there. So that's, I don't know whether you can address that or not, or is there...
I can defer that to the site developer. I think.
didn't know which one.
Yeah, putting in a trash enclosure is a matter of whether or not there's space. There's a feasible space to have that. So I'll defer to the development team to answer that question.
You have them come up?
Sure.
Well, hold on, actually, you know what? We're going to do commission clarification and comments, then I'll open the public hearing.
Okay.
And then we'll have the project proponent come up first.
Okay, so we'll just tally the questions.
So, hang on to that. Do you have anything else, Belinda? Did you have anything else, Belinda?
No.
For Kim?
I'm good.
Okay.
That's why I was...
All right, Alan, don't forget your mic.
I have questions of the development team. That's
Okay. All right, Tim?
I don't think I have any questions for clarification of what's before us tonight. I do have some concerns for, as long as I've lived in Mount Shasta, there's been a problem with not having adequate rentals. And I think that's a serious concern that I would like to address tonight.
Okay, so do you want to hold off and maybe ask the project
Well,
proponent
I
first,
actually
or
have
did you have
questions for both the planner and the developer when we have the opportunity. I think you just asked if there were any clarifying questions.
Right, or to set the stage, I mean, to your point, if that's, definitely want to include that as part of the conversation this evening. And we'll have another opportunity, after we close the public hearing to have clarification and then conversation amongst ourselves. So thanks for that. Just to let my fellow commissioners and the public know, I also have thoughts about this project. I had a nice, conversation with Kim earlier about modifying our conditions of approval to talk about the things that I think are part of our job, which is to ensure that these structures are built to condominium standards, which are not the same as rental unit standards. And my understanding is that that is the case, but I want it to be part of the public record. To Belinda's point, I also think that the trash needs to be managed in such a way that people can use their garages and that trash does not sit outside and is accessible by bears and wildlife. And the current situation is not working. So I'm looking forward to hearing a proposal from the project folks about how to remedy that. Likewise, snow storage. I think we need to talk about making sure we manage snow storage on site going forward. To Tim's point, I also think it's important to find out the project proponents' plans for protecting the existing tenants. If we proceed with the condo conversion, how do we ensure that the existing tenants, or what is the plan for the existing tenants going forward? And what's going to happen when their lease needs to be renewed? What would the conversion look like? And how do we mitigate taking property out of rentals that, to Tim's point, we do need to condominiums, which also have advantages because it's an opportunity for people to build equity. So all of that, I think, is part of the conversation that I would like to have tonight. So unless there's anything else, commissioners? Okay, I'm going to open our public hearing this evening, and if the project proponent could come up first and introduce yourself and talk about your plans, maybe speak to some of the things we've already talked about, and we'll go from there.
Hello, my name is David Malouf. Thank you for tonight. Too many questions. I'll be happy to answer what I remember. I think some of them are a bit repetitive. I can nail that one, remember the most. So the primary plan for us and I will speak for all the 3 units, the 3 complexes, not just one.
Kids, just so there's a couple things. Is we want to make sure we can hear you, and we want to make sure it gets taped so it's kept and people can hear.
Is that better? Okay, I'll get closer. I wasn't sure.
Thank you.
So I'll probably be speaking for the 3 complexes. They are consecutive on the agenda. So the plan for us in these conversion to condominium is very simple. We were not planning to sell them. Literally, it's a function of economics for us to get insurances. This is very fundamental. It's not easy to get insurances at that level. Secondly, it's financially more liquid for us to be able to refinance. So nothing will touch on the existing renters. We will not sell in the short term because these are designed for us as for rental, but the conversion was more practical and it doesn't change much. So the protection, how the existing renters, and in a previous note we sent to the city, we agree that we'll renew their leases, and as much as they want, they can stay. So we'll not do anything in regard to that. Of course, as I repeat myself, we will not plan to sell for many years. So the intent is more for us to be, as a developer, is more functional, more efficient, to make it more insurable, and then so the whole infrastructure become operationally easier for us as much, and all this will pass through cost to the tenants as we go. So this is the first question, remember, but so maybe I can go for the second question. I think you had a concern.
So, well, I think,
Yes.
so we were talking about, so protection of the tenants, existing tenants, make sure I've got this right. We're talking about snow removal, snow storage, so how you manage snow removal and snow storage, how you manage garbage storage, and I think that's it.
So let's talk about the snow. So in the design, there's enough space and where snow goes on the premise, not on the road. And they've already been designed for that as an area where that happens. The whole infrastructure, the whole structure themselves, if you ever drove by it, you see the garages are facing the road, meaning the minimal snow removal needs to happen just by design, and the snow needs to go to one side that we designed for it, so that when that snow get carried forward, get pushed on the property, on the side that's already been designed for it early on. And we spent a lot of time designing that function. There may have been some incident where the snow that actually came from the city, I remember, that moved from one place to another. It may have been placed by the city in somebody else's property, and then we got accused for it, but that's, we removed it ourselves, so we had no sweat. But this is from the snow that is on the property, we take care of it, has been designed, and there's a place for it. In regard to the garbage...
So hold on a
yes.
second. Maybe let's stick with the snow piece of that.
Mm-hmm.
So my question for you is, I don't know, or maybe you could clarify, right now are individual renters responsible for clearing the snow to on their portion of the sidewalk and their portion of the driveway, or do you take care of that as the landlord?
We take care of it,
So you're taking care of snow removal.
yes.
And if this were to change to condominiums, would the HOA continue to have that snow taken care of collectively, or would people be doing it individually?
Collectively still.
Okay, because I was just imagining, if you're in the middle driveway, to clear your own driveway, you need the other person's
Yes.
driveway to be clear.
Yes, in the proposal of the condominium, so there's if you think of it as the actual housing itself, that's what the condo is, and then the common area. So the HOA is responsible for the common area. That means including the walkways, including the driveways, and all the maintenance of it. That includes snow.
Okay, great. Commissioners, do we have any more questions about snow storage and snow removal?
Can I assume the location on the plans for snow removal were indicated on the individual plans for the project?
I don't remember that detail, but we spoke of it, we designed it, and there's an area for that where it's even designed for the water to go through. And then I think I don't know if the plan called them out, but in practice, that's what we have on the ground.
So there was you say for water to go down into the soil, was it an infiltration basin of some sort?
Yes,
or?
all has been designed, and we dug it out. We've put the right material for that all infiltration happens correctly.
Do you know if that was part of a stormwater control plan?
I don't remember. That's been years for us, but that's been designed for all the water collection we have to make, and then we hired the right companies to.
How long ago was this? About
2-3 years.
Okay. We're still requiring stormwater basins and snow removal being indicated on the
Yes,
construction docs.
the short answer is yes. This was before my time, but I imagine what occurred was that once building permits were submitted over the counter, that a plan checker and inspector and the city engineer would have taken a look at all that.
Ken was here 2 or 3 years ago. Okay, all right, thank that.
I just want to mention a couple of things. So we've been actively actually monitoring the situations, and then we're seeing where the water goes. We've been very happy with the results, and then not like we're just walked away. And then so the results are impressive given the situations we had. I think we had one big storm 2 years ago. We monitored that, and that was pretty good results.
So that's all from me for snow.
Okay, yeah, good. Anybody else on the snow part of this? Okay, next, what do you want to try? Garbage next?
Okay, so the current setup, the way it exists, each renter have their own garbage can, have their own plan with the city, and then has been taken care of that way. And I think we plan it will stay that way. Each homeowner will take care of their own garbage and their own plans. The HOA will require that they have if there's an owner, right now as they don't, but if there's a new owner, they will have to deal and abide with the laws that mandates where the garbage needs to go.
So the current situation with garbage, if each tenant has their own recycling and trash container.
Correct.
And there's no room to store them inside their garage, then that situation is not satisfactory with regards to wildlife. Do you have a proposal to provide secure storage for people's garbage cans so that the wildlife cannot access them?
Well, the garbage needs to stay in the garage, accessible whenever it's time for pickup. If they're leaving it elsewhere, so they're doing it on their own, not the right way. They have to be put back in the garage where we agreed on. So in the lease, the cans, the recycling stay in the garage.
And is there sufficient room to park an average car in the garage and store their garbage cans?
Correct. So in the garage, if you check those garages, there is in the back there's a space, and we put what do you call these guards so that the car doesn't bump into things, and then there's a place way in the back to place their cans.
Okay. Anybody else?
That looks possible from the dimensions I see.
Thank you for the reality check on that. I appreciate not. Anybody else want to talk about that?
Not on garbage.
Okay. So then I think our next concern was how to protect the tenants and to consider the impacts on our rental housing.
Okay, so as I said, is the intent for us is renting, not anything else. But I'd like to speak out is as a developer, we understand, and myself been writing into affordable housing for many years. So the way we see is that whether to bring population to Mount Shasta to live as local forever, sometime affordability is become partner of the city. You can't just live forever as a renter. So as we develop, so there's a difference between building houses and condominiums because the condominiums are cheaper. You share the same resources. This has become a communal. We have an amazing community developed already at that location where people get together. Sharing a wall, sharing a garden is very effective economically. So is the mixture of rental and maybe in the future ownership, they can rent it themselves out, but they have an equity into towards their investment. Renting, tossing up money out is sometimes good for short term. So rental for short term is one thing, but as you want to build a community, you need to give them a chance to actually invest in the city and become owner in that city, in the community, not just that. That is a mechanism to make it happen in an affordable way. Condos will make it affordable price-wise compared to a house, which has become very unaffordable, besides a place for them to get mortgaged on today. Houses that are, I'll give an example. I have people who I know, it's very good, effective. They're desperately looking for housing in Mount Shasta. They're right now chasing a house that have no foundation, and they cannot find, because it's affordable to them, but the house has no foundation. Banking will not give them the money because for that reason. For the same price, they can buy a condo. That is, could be mortgaged back very easily. So the economics works much better at that level. But again, is that our intent is, for our own interest, is rental right now for a while until things will change. I'm talking about years, not just months. So we're talking like, at least 3 to 5 years until we change our thinking. But again, the protection is there because it's not like it's going to go away. And then being a developer, we will develop likely further in Mount Shasta for the same principle and the same element of success for the community and for everybody else. So we're not just walking away. We're local. I live locally too, so not just like I like to see that prosper and that community prosper from that angle. So all my renters have been there happy, and then it's been great for everybody. So why walk away?
Commissioners? Tim, did you want some?
Yeah, thanks.
Go ahead.
I'm going to move this over here. I think I heard you say that there's no intent to sell the units once or if they become condominiums. It's solely for purpose of getting better insurance rate. Is that correct?
So I would just say solely. So for the short term, it will give us a better arrangement with insurances, with banking, and other arrangement that give us that fluidity of doing business. It will not affect the actual renters, but for the developer owners, have a better arrangement with a different institution in the banking and insurances.
Have any insurance companies told you that, or presented you something in writing indicating that the insurance would be less for rental condominiums than rental townhouses?
So the way it works, because we're a fourplex, is considered commercial. So this is one of the difficulty which we're facing. So they don't treat those fourplexes as residential unless they are individual. That's the first writing we have.
When you sought to develop the property 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, did you have any plans at that point to convert to condominiums?
That is correct. So when we designed it early 4 years ago, we even built it in such a way that conversion happens structurally, feasibly, internally, in a straightforward, like the way the plumbing happens, the way the electrical is done systematically. Even the division between the walls are intended to be so on the get-go. And it's a process we went through, and to get to a level is once we mature, we'll move forward with the right experience and data. We didn't want to rush too fast.
And was that intent disclosed to the city at the time?
That is correct.
In writing?
I think there were some writings that it is, even in the leases, it's in the writing, yes.
I'm sorry, say again?
Yes, even in the leases with the tenant, it's in writing also. So we told the cities, and we also told the tenants that we plan for HOAs. As a condo conversion.
As I expressed in the beginning, Mount Shasta has had a rental shortage for a number of years. That's probably one of the reasons that you decided to
Correct.
build rental units.
That is correct. So we'll not walk away from that strategy.
That rental shortage is continuing in Mount Shasta.
And we'll be happy to build more.
Pardon?
And we'll be happy to build more.
Well, converting to condominiums and selling the condominiums would not help the rental shortage, in
But
my
again,
opinion.
we're not selling. Selling it's an element. We're not selling in the short term. It's just many years we will not sell. Selling is a functional element for us to be more fluid. And then, like, for example, if I need to I'll be frank. If I need to build a new structure right now, we do have already bought properties in Mount Shasta for future development. If I need to fund it, I can easily mortgage one of the units off the condos and fund that development. That I can do right away, but I need the condos to do that.
I don't see how that addresses my concern about
The way it addresses
rental shortage.
Of course, the way it addresses it in a double way. One, the condos are still rented. I'm not selling it, but I have money, cash, to actually build more housing, more rentals. So it's a process where you build, you take the money out, you build more. You take the money out, you build more. So that would increase your rental. This is how developer works. That's the principle number one.
Well, the way under that scenario, the way you would take money out would be to sell some of the units.
No, absolutely not. It's mortgage.
Okay.
So just one correction is, so many things happened since the last crash in 2008. LLCs don't get mortgages from banking anymore. Meaning by that is multifamily, they can only do it at the level of housing. So a multifamily is very hard to get mortgages at large scales. You can get it at the house, at the unit level. For us, meaning by that, when we are in the condo business, then I can take one unit, I can mortgage that out, they give me the money to build something else. The renter can stay in the condo, and the money is mortgaged from the bank. I can take that money, I can develop another rental.
As you would with, say, if you did a subdivision, you could mortgage one lot.
Pardon me? See?
You could mortgage one lot if you did
Exactly.
a land subdivision.
Exactly. I can mortgage one unit. I don't have to mortgage the 4 units.
All right. Now, you indicated that there'd be no intent to convert or to sell any of these units.
Correct.
For many years.
For many years.
What does many years mean to you?
3, 5 years. 3 to 5 years. This is just, for now, we're sure we're not selling 3 to 5 years. In 5 years, we can talk again, but I doubt we'll be selling back then. But it's just because for where they are, they're very economical units.
I understand your position of where you are. And the city's position, if I can speak for the city, is to protect rental housing, to keep rental housing, and to encourage more rental housing in Mount Shasta, not to lose any rental housing. 4 months ago, I think there were 0 rental units. And when I say rental units, I'm talking about large homes, medium-sized homes, small homes, individual apartments, duplexes, triplexes, available for rent. Now there may be as many as 5 in the entire city for rent.
Okay.
So we've had almost 0% vacancy for a long time, a very, very low vacancy. So if the city were to exercise its discretion to allow the conversion to condominiums, we run the risk of going contrary to one of our primary and most important principles under the general plan. I sat on city council for 24 years. During much of that time, we had a principle that anyone who works in Mount Shasta should be able to afford to live in Mount Shasta. Right now, people are living other places than Mount Shasta because they can't find a rental in Mount Shasta.
So,
Would you be willing to commit to a longer time period, say 10 years?
yes. These are 12 units. I cannot speak on all the units. For at least, I can speak for 6.
To preserve as rental, to preserve as rentals.
Yes,
Rental
so
units,
I can, maybe this microphone is not loud enough, maybe this will have to be kind of eat it up. It's very simple. If you need 10 years, I can give 10 years for some of them, at least the one I can speak of. These are 3 different companies. I can speak for the one I can control, about 50% of them. I can give you 10 years on at least for the one I speak of. The other ones, I can't guarantee you the 10 years, but between 3 to 5, I think is fine. But Tim, I'd like you to consider the following. To your point about your vision, you spoke of for the city of Mount Shasta about affordability, about availability of housing. We are together here as a partnership. I know if you take the whole thing on your own, that you are responsible for the housing, and it's no longer a partnership with the developers. We work together to this. We develop for the community those housing. So we need to work together that you, as a committee, as a city, we work together in building the next generation of housing and for those rental to happen. Sometimes if there's no feel of that relationship become harder. And then for us, if we don't feel like we have that fluidity of the economics to build more, it's harder for us to build more. So if we understand the need for that rental, and we are working hard to make it happen. So we're not just there to come and sell and walk away. We are part of the community ourselves. But so as in your vision, when you say anybody who lives in Mount Shasta should be able to live in Mount Shasta, that does also include buying as much as renting, not just renting. So we're giving both options, not one option. And then as I mentioned again, through this mechanism of this conversion to a condominium will give us both options, but most importantly, will give us the option to develop more housing. That's the kind of the 3 things we're hitting in one stone tonight, not just one thing.
Yes, and one thing that a potential conversion would do is enable people in Sacramento, Bay Area, elsewhere, to buy that condominium and use it 2 weeks out of the year, 4 weeks out of the year, basically removing it from the long-term rental.
I want to interject here because you've had quite a bit of time on this, and I agree with him that there are a lot of people that can't afford to buy a house, that these could be introductory steps. And that's one of the complaints I hear of the professionals in town. I mean, we have the people that can't afford to buy and they need rentals. And then we have the your bankers and, those people that don't make that much money, but they make enough to potentially buy a condo to do the next step. And then they could rent the condo if they wanted to, because it's theirs, or they could sell it and somebody else could step into a lower income, because buying a house is way more expensive than a condo.
Yes.
Condo, right?
Right, so maybe let's let the
that
other
for
commissioners talk. If you have, I'd like to make sure that everybody, I mean, we all get a chance. Did you have anything else to add to this, or can I move on and let Alan and?
I do have some questions.
Okay.
So have you formed an HOA at this point?
Correct.
And is there an operating agreement for the HOA?
Correct.
Have you provided that to the city?
Correct.
You have provided that to the city?
The city does have a copy of the CC&Rs on file.
Okay. It's not in what we received.
It's not in the staff report packet. The city asked for it as a courtesy, just so that we had it on file, but it's the, CC&Rs are between the developer and the tenants who are living in the units, and so typically the city would not get involved with enforcing CC&Rs. But I asked for it just as a courtesy to have on file, and it was given to the city. So we do have a copy of the CC&Rs on file.
Thank you.
Also, I would like to confirm that putting your properties in a commercial insurance is way more affordable, because we did that on our property. We had to, in order to get the best price, we had to consolidate all the property into one commercial property instead of bits and pieces. And so that was, they didn't have anything less. So it is, the commercial insurance is a better way to go than piecemeal, I guess.
That I'll ping you offline.
It's still not a good deal.
Yeah,
It's still pretty expensive, but yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you
Al.
give me a sense of what the differences are between, say, apartment complex construction and condominium construction? I understood what you mean in terms of the infrastructure for water and sewer and electrical are separate, but the wall that separates them, is there airspace for sound? What kinds of construction?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So sometimes, for example, let's look at the electrical. So for example, each unit has its own solar, has its own electrical, has its own main panel, has its own service panel. They can get service directly from Pacific Power, for an example. So they're individual and they have their own internet connection. All these connectivity is individualized for each unit. Plumbing, similarly, they have their own meters, they have their own. So even on the sewers, which is a very simple thing we take for granted, each line is made specially not to go under the other unit. Sometimes plumbers like to put the shortest cut, so that means one line can go under the other unit. We made sure there is no overlapping. This is very detailed, but it's very important for the independence.
No, I understand that the infrastructure to support each unit is separate, and that's great. That's what you needed to do to make this step. In construction practices, how they are built, are there specific differences? Are they I'm not saying this is what it is. Is it 2x6 construction instead of 2x4? Is there, in the separating walls, is there airspace between walls for sound attenuation? What sort of things are different?
In those specific units, we have to, so the wall, what it comes down to construction is that, especially the airspace, anything above you tend to be belonging to you. For example, you don't want the fan of your next unit neighbors to go over. So that kind of thing. So that separation goes all the way up. That means the wall goes all the way up, and then your space above you is likely has to do with your function, even though the unit is above the unit in that airspace, but sometimes the attic is shared, but whatever
I understand airspace, condos, things, I get that. Construction.
It's the same material like construction. It's just code. We cannot modify that.
Okay. And the walls the walls that are between individual units, are they standard 2x6 construction, or is there something unique about them?
Nothing unique. It's a standard 2x6, and they are sound insulated as by code. So these are code thing. We don't have that luxury to modify.
Oh, no, that's fine. I understand. I just wanted to know if there were. I'm
Yes, they are.
curious
Yeah.
about it.
They're standard, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Tim?
Actually, let me finish. Otherwise, I'm glad that you're bringing more housing of any kind, apartments for rent, condos to buy.
Thank you. Yeah, we're looking forward.
Go ahead, Tim.
So you indicated that you would be agreeable to a restriction against selling half of the condominiums for the next 10 years, and you think that your partners would be agreeable to, what do you say, 6 years or 5 years?
So I like to use the word restrictions here. So an agreement, because let's say if I'm stuck financially, I need to do something. So I'm not, because I have a restriction, I'm stuck with it legally, I can't sell anymore. So I have that liberty that I do have the fluidity to sell. And then, so whatever that means, what you had in mind there, Tim, it is clearly is that agreement is shall be and should be a handshake between us and the city that we will not sell for many years. 10 years is fine, but it won't be a restriction as in legal form.
Well, if it's just a handshake agreement, you could turn around and sell it in 6 months or a year from now.
That won't be true, but that the restriction needs to be, in that case, very well crafted, because it is financially tying my hands, because I cannot sell anything in that thing anymore. The whole structure is not for sale anymore. Right now, I can sell the whole complex. If you want me not to sell at all, the complex is not for sale anymore. I don't know what you mean by that restriction.
I'm trying to find a way of protecting existing rentals from disappearing for a period of time. And I was seeing if there might be something that you would also agree to make that happen.
I agree as an agreement. I don't know what the agreement you have in mind. I don't know how that looks like.
So here, I'm going to interject, and let's talk about possibilities to protect the tenants, which it sounds like a shared goal, because it sounds like the people living there, the space you've created has built a community. It sounds like you're interested in supporting that. If there's something that we could put in a condition of approval that works for us, is our job to want to preserve rentals, also help community members build equity, but in particular, the folks who live there right now. And so, I looked around on the internet. A possibility could be first right of refusal for purchase for existing tenants, if that's something that you would consider as a condition of approval. And so,
should be right.
We could include that as a measure, as a condition. But then the piece comes up, I'm assuming that folks are going to be protected by their lease. So, and I don't know what kind of lease agreements, if you're doing month to month, year to year, some other time frame, if you want to share that.
We usually offer them a yearly lease, and they usually renew. Mm-hmm. Some don't, based on their health reasons, but mostly renew year to year, and then we comply with that. That's how it works, and then that's what they're comfortable with. Also, pushing too many years for them, they don't like it, and I think the year to year is what they really prefer on their side, and it works with us too.
Mm-hmm. And then, so since you're in this business, are there other mechanisms to protect the tenants besides first right of refusal and, yearly leases as works for them? And I don't, at this point, I don't know if we need to make that a condition of approval, because people's lives change in terms of lease term. I read, condo conversion, if somebody wanted to renew their lease and you chose not to renew their lease, then I've read about paying for their moving costs, assistance with finding a new rental. Perhaps there's other things out there. I'd like to know your thoughts about that.
Melanie, I think that could be a problem, because what if they want to get rid of the tenant because it's a bad tenant?
Which happens, I know.
But you don't want to have all that other stuff in there, because then you have to treat all tenants fair, and to put the burden of the landlord to move and find a place for somebody that has destroyed the apartment.
Well, to your point,
I mean,
yes.
So you're really putting the landlord in this corner that is incredibly expensive.
Well, no, I would only say that it wouldn't be if the tenant had been remiss for whatever reason. That's a separate issue, and I am not proposing to protect those tenants. This would be only in the case that you determined to not renew someone's lease, then because you intended to sell it and for it to become a condo, then potentially some other protections or some other mitigations for that person could be kicked in. I am not protecting knuckleheads.
The tenant has all the rights. I'll tell you now, it's very difficult to be a landlord.
I've been a landlord, I know.
That is correct. So let me clarify a few things. So a tenant have the right to stay month to month, even though the lease expires, until the tenant chooses. This is the law. This is not we made it up. The tenant chooses to leave. So month to month, and then until the tenant chooses to leave. And then he may ask for another lease, but the law is with the tenant that he can stay as much month to month as much as he wants to stay. So the way in the business of rental, it's it's a mutual thing between landlords and tenants. It's not like a bad guy, good guy, or good guy. That's how it works. Sometimes there are good tenants, there are bad tenants, there are good landlords, and there are bad landlords. Doesn't make any of the stuff will not change the good landlords into better landlords or good tenant into bad. It's just the way. This is the economics of business. Business is driven by that nature. And then we will not be in the business if we don't have that element of delivering good quality services to the tenants. I mean, otherwise, if we don't want to do it, we shouldn't be doing it in the first place, but we are doing it because we intend to do it. If it becomes too hard for us, we won't be doing it. So there's a level of the whole arrangement of this mutual trust between the cities, counties, tenants, and landlords. It's fluid. It has to be natural, not forced. The more it gets forced, the more it becomes harder, and then the other parties won't work with it. It's the way it is today is the best way it is today. Modifying it further, whether on the tenants or on the landlord, it become somebody is losing. The economics speak for itself. Demand and supply speak for itself. Certain restrictions has been put on the property for low-income housing. We've done that. We complied, and I think it's a fair game. Beyond that, become I don't know what I'm going to call it, but it's become what protection is there. You know, we're not in I don't know. I'm not going to call out, but we're still in Mount Shasta here with our freedom, their respect, and it should stay like that. The conversion, it's just, as I mentioned, a simple administrative conversion of ownership, but it's nothing more than that. We shouldn't overblow that into somebody is losing. Nobody's losing anything here. Actually, we're all gaining. And I would mention to Tim is we're gaining three things: more tenants, more availability for us to execute better and faster, and then for us to just to make it happen. So the last 3 years speak for itself. So why we're going to change that? This is the reality. This is the fact. And we know how to do that business very well, and we'd like to continue doing that business very well. It's just a simple administrative function. We'd like to just adjust that ownership so that we can do our economics better and be more effective. The tenants are respected. The tenants are protected by law. California is amazingly rigorous in those laws, and our leases are standard leases, like bylaws, and then there's nothing else there. Everybody is empowered in their own ways. I think that's the way to trust the system. As anything we do wrong, you tell us. But I don't think so far, and you have all the means to correct it. Like you're a city, you have the power to correct things if we do anything wrong. And then beyond that, I think we should be fair.
Right, well, this is our opportunity to influence this project going forward. So, so you didn't really answer my question about this specific, if you were to actually, instead of using this as an opportunity for funding to build more housing, which sounds fabulous, if in fact you, instead of that, you actually did convert them or some of them to condominiums, again, in that specific condition, what can we do to help somebody who perhaps didn't want to move? Or, I mean, you can say, well, we wait for something natural where people are moving on anyway, but, so I'm just asking, first right of refusal doesn't interest you, or I understand commitment to a 10-year restriction, that seems, I'm not interested in that. I am just wondering what specifically you would be interested in doing if somebody couldn't renew their lease, not because they weren't paying their rent or not because they trashed the place, but because you wanted to convert it to a condominium and they weren't ready to move.
So the element of first right of refusal, meaning by that is the element of when we sell, they have the right to buy.
Correct. That's my understanding.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, just like they have that right anyway in the first place. Why was nothing preventing them to, if the property is on the market, to actually buy? Why? What's the restriction on it? I'm fine with it if you wanna. I'm fine with that thing, but doesn't really make any difference.
Potentially it might. You know, I don't know, your cousin Vinny wants to buy a condo, and I'm not talking about you specifically, I'm just looking to protect generally the folks who are there.
So technically is that we will put the property on the market, and that's fine with that. And then not sell it to Vinny, that's fine.
Right, and if there's anything else that, like say, you're in the business, these are things I read that other cities are doing. This is not out of my head. This is out of other cities in California that are doing this.
Okay, so but if we need to do something like that, so we need to be careful whether that means there are 12 units. You plan to have a restriction on all the units?
First right of refusal on all the units would be what I had in mind.
So but wait a minute, how can I give the unit to my son, for example?
Isn't that a separate issue when it's your family that is moving in? I thought that was something that landlords, which is perfectly fair, or if you or your immediate family wants to use a unit or move into a unit, then somebody has to vacate to allow you to use your property that way.
Okay.
And it wouldn't be all 12 units anyway, because you have 2 that are rentals, permanent rentals, right?
No, they have to be sold under the affordable. So the only reason you have those 4 instead of 3 is because you got the density bonus.
Correct.
So it's not like that was something onerous, I don't think, for you to provide affordable units so that you could get that density bonus and put 4 instead of just 3.
That is correct.
So what does that mean?
My understanding is that you sell one under similar provisions, that it has to be affordable at an affordable price as determined by working with the city, but it can be sold at an affordable price.
Correct.
Or rented at an affordable price.
Yes. So what it means is that out of those 12, 2 specific units are deed restricted. They need to be rented or sold if they are condos at what affordable housing dictates the price to be.
Did we put another one of those units in the third quad?
Well, they got a density bonus.
I know they did, but we could, because we're so concerned about the affordability.
Instead of 2, make it 3?
Huh?
Instead of 2, make it 3?
Make it 3. Instead of 2 of those affordable units, you put make them all the same, with one affordable in each of the 3 blocks.
It's not like we're negotiating here. I don't understand what we're talking about. You know, if we need to do some sort of negotiation, I don't think it's the right forum. Sorry, I will decline those kind of questions.
So I was going to suggest that that perhaps you might meet with the city staff and mutually try to address some of the questions that we've brought up, some of the concerns that we've brought up. Again, one of the concerns I have is loss of rental. Another concern that we've had in Mount Shasta is losing homes that are for sale to out-of-towners who use it for vacation, and then it's not available to locals. Chairman Findling raised a question about persons who get displaced, and they can't afford to purchase, but there may not be any readily available alternative locations for them. So there are some questions that I'm hearing that have come up as a result of our conversation. I'm wondering if you would be willing to meet with the city planner or city staff, city manager, and kick around those issues.
Well, we might be able to resolve this evening. Alan, did you have a question?
Yes. Did I understand it that your intention is to, part of the reason for doing all this is for capitalization, and you're looking to develop additional sites?
Correct.
You've already identified and possibly purchased some other properties?
Correct.
To develop. Is your intention to a similar program?
Correct.
I think that's all really good. I think we have a developer that's doing the kinds of housing we need. It's providing. It's providing rental housing, and then some of those get converted to inexpensive homes that can be purchased. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm hearing you say that if the city used its discretion to grant the request for condo conversion, that you could actually then sell all 12 of them, correct?
Sure.
Well, and then use that money to come to the city again, say we want to build some rental property, and we'd like to get a density bonus because we'll put on 12 units instead of whatever.
I didn't understand that. One more time.
And then keep that for 2 years as rental, and now you've gotten 2 bonus units, and then turn around and sell those again.
Well, those units are going to be, if somebody gets a density bonus, then the units are either sold or rented for target incomes for, I believe, 55 years. So that's not going to change, no matter who owns it. So I think the question before us really is, I think we've satisfied our concerns about trash and snow storage, that it was really an issue of enforcement, and that's changed going forward? Back to those two. The storage, garbage storage and snow removal and snow storage was an enforcement issue, correct?
Correct.
And that has been resolved going forward?
Correct.
How is that resolved?
Because it will be enforced now and it wasn't? I'm maybe, and I don't know, I don't have anybody, and we also have an opportunity, because we're a little stuck in the weeds right now, so I'd like to, we can ask you to, there's a likelihood that we'll ask you to come up and talk to us after we're moved through our public hearing and get to hear from other folks. So for now, let's think about whether, I don't know, maybe some of the folks here can answer some of these questions, but let's move on through the public hearing, hear from other folks, and then there's a good chance we'll bring you back up to ask you more questions.
Okay, I'll be in the back. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay. Who would like to come speak to us this evening about the condo conversions? Please come up to the mic. And you have, in this case, you have 3 minutes, which is a little different standard, I understand, than the project proponent, but there's a good reason for it.
Good evening, Johanna Altorfer. I have a couple questions and clarifications and just some comments. I'm not overly familiar with exactly where this location is, but first of all, I heard Belinda say that commercial real estate is a lot cheaper. Did I hear you say that?
Insurance.
Insurance, yeah, for insurance. Because I heard the developer say it's cheaper for him to get condo insurance for an individual unit. So I feel like there's a disconnect between what you two were saying.
Well, anyway, this isn't going to be a back and forth.
Yeah, no, I know. I just want to point that out. That's kind of what I heard. And then I kind of share Tim's concerns about losing potential rental units, because if that is really kind of the intent and the zone, or not the zoning, but the structure was, the intent of that structure originally was X, and then we're changing it to something else. It's not really a zoning change, but anyway. And 10 years, in my opinion, is a very short time. And it sounds like they're going to turn around and sell. Let's see. There are state laws in California for relocation costs for tenants, but it sounds like they're on a month-to-month rental. And if they're on a month-to-month rental, I'm not exactly sure, but I think if it's no cause, I believe they would have to pay relocation, but could give a 90-day notice to a tenant. You'd have to look into that. But so it sounds like it's very possible these units, I mean, you have to look at both sides. You know, the positive is, you know, maybe it'll get sold to, you know, somebody who wants to buy a condo. But on the other hand, it's possible that the tenant will, might not be able to stay there longer. And then, what do the neighbors have to say about this? Because someone commented to me at the mayor's coffee thing this morning and mentioned this project, and it sounded like it was very crowded or whatever, and so I'm not really sure if that's true or not. But I'm just curious what the neighbors think, and also have the tenants written any letters in support of this? And I don't think, if they're tenants and they're renting now, I find it unlikely that they would have money to buy the place, because they might already have purchased something. But maybe not. Maybe we don't have enough price points low enough, so that might be in favor. Okay.
We're down to 10 seconds.
Okay. And then the last question was, can condos qualify under SB 9 and 10 so they further subdivide? And that was kind of all of my questions and comments. I don't really know enough about this, but those are some of the thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm hoping that some of the tenants are here to talk to us this evening. Who else would like to come up and speak with us this evening?
I appreciate the very in-depth.
Your name, because
Araya, again.
it's recorded.
Yeah. Okay, it's me again.
So your whole name, but no, so it's on tape, so it's not just speaking to us. There's a record of this, and if it's on tape, then we can hear it later.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I thought I said my name the first time I came up. Araya Wolf, I'm local here. I just want to say I appreciate the very in-depth and rigorous digging into all the ins and outs, because I had some of the same questions about this. I guess I don't know enough about the actual benefit of a condo conversion versus just a renovation of an apartment building, if that's what you're doing. It would seem like the intent is to sell, at least at some point, if you're going to go to the condo conversion, because my understanding is there are some specific requirements if it's going to be a condo versus an apartment that are somewhat different. So it seems like there would be, an intent at least at some point to sell. So one of my other questions, in addition to some of the other, because obviously we do have a huge affordable housing issue in this area in general, not just Mount Shasta, the city, but our whole area. And it is both in the rentals and in the homeownership area. So I understand there is a need for more entry level. So a condo could potentially meet that need for some people. But also then you have to consider what are the condo association fees and everything on top of that. Sometimes those things make it a little out of proportion as far as monthly fees. But then, so we're working on the tiny houses, we're working on a lot of different things for potential entry-level homeownership opportunities, but also the rental market, because there's a section of the population that can't qualify for a mortgage yet, or at this stage in their life because of whatever's happened. So it's important to address the needs of the rental market too, and when there's no rentals, then obviously the rental rates go through the roof too. So there's a balance, and there's both pieces of the market that need to be addressed. And something I haven't heard mentioned yet, I'm not sure, maybe this is what you were getting at when you asked about the CC&Rs. What would be the potential if they do get sold? Is that going to in any way be turning into short-term rentals? Because that's also a piece, as well as people with second homes and they're sitting vacant and that kind of thing, that really impacts our housing stock in general, as does the short-term rental market, which hurts the locals quite a bit in a lot of ways. Even though there's TOT and all that, I get it's a complicated issue. There's a lot of back and forth, but we need, at the end of the day, workforce housing. We need affordable housing. We need housing that matches the income level of what our community actually has. So, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Aloha. Afa.
Thank you.
Same. Really good, in-depth, left and right side. Thank you for having this discussion. I'm going to go on the same ideas that, let's just say 5 years, 10 years from now, they decide to sell, and it has to be at whatever the city determines a condominium's affordable rate is at the time, whenever that sell happens. I think it's a little interesting that I think our individual medium income as an individual in the city of Mount Shasta is lower than the county individual medium income. And so, as far as I know, which I might be wrong, but the county individual income is about $45,000. So the townhomes that we have being built right now, if you make $45,000 or less, you qualify to be on that list. The Powers Group is coming around at the landing. That's looking to tend towards worker qualified housing, which means you have to be a worker here, which also means you can't be retired, which also means you can set up a business and become self-employed, and then you can get on that list over there too. And just like the city council's core points of keeping rental available for that next ladder steps. And Belinda's, I hope I said that right, talking about, the younger families just is stepping into this next ladder step, but those bankers and those next, that might be their next best step for them, a condominium. And so we're kind of in this world between low income and low income and hella low income. We're kind of in that, what would match a condominium. So I was, my gut would tell me that if the condominiums ever did sell 5-10 years from now, at whatever we call affordable rate based on this and based on that, I just feel like there'd just be a lot, no matter what you guys call affordable as a rate when you sell it, will not be affordable to the average individual inside of Mount Shasta. So it might be affordable to the banker, that level, and it's important to think about them. Thank you. And so, thank you for your consideration. I appreciate the topic, and I thank you. And the developer, thank you so much for talking about this together. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anybody else want to come speak to us about the condo conversion? Commissioners, do we have any more questions of the project proponent? I can ask him to come back up if we do. And I think he'd like to come. Oh, wait, hold on. Did you want to? So it's not a back and forth, but you can tell us what's on your mind.
So in the very beginning, he was kind of talking about length of time, and he was talking about an agreement, kind of a handshake deal. I kind of think I heard something like that. Anything that's a handshake deal, can it be written down, even if you're considering, you can call it a handshake deal, but there needs to be writing to protect anything that's just kind of an understanding. Do you understand what I'm referring to? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, yes, please, come back up.
He's not a 3-minute guy.
This is David Malouf again. So just been thinking back and been thinking to one of the questions I asked. I wasn't aware of some of these concerns that the city had in the background, nothing to do with the condominium itself. So the concern is how you are making the housing available to the locals. This is probably one of the major concerns, because I kept hearing somebody from outside come by the house and leaves or does this stuff. So I would hope that some considerations have happened. I can give you a story, share that, maybe you may know it. In other places of the world where they face similar problems, where housing is unaffordable and there's a shortage for the locals. I use the word locals here very precisely, and this place is in Canada, is especially in Vancouver area, in Vancouver Island area, in Victoria. So they are come up after many years of back and forth of cities and equivalently developing these things. They came up with a very interesting, just ideas, so that you don't have to go chase the developer is like he's the bad guy. So those kind of ideas they came up with, I will share one of them, is to maintain the availability of housing for the locals. They came up with something very simple, that houses that are unoccupied are taxed. Very simple, 2% on the value. And then, so think of it as that there's so many other places, ways to solve the problem, versus to go after a developer that is make it his problem. Because I can tell you, I could go to a different city. It's not a big deal to me. Like Weed would really need my help right now, and city of Weed. And then, so in perspective, in those kind of consideration is you'll see that this is one example of solving a problem, and then it can easily be implemented as one simple ordinance, because you don't have to be that rigid, 2%, and then you can make it something similar, is that the local needs to, the house needs to be occupied, which means it forces the house to be either rented or owner occupied. And then you'll see a big surge in the availability of your houses, right, like within a few months. Simple things that is on tip of your fingers to control things. And then I think this I would like to mention, there are other examples, possibilities to think through that give you that power to make these housing available for the community you want and you're looking for and you're looking to protect. This one, I'm going to share that with you as an example. So that's just so many other ideas, much simpler than we're trying to negotiate right now. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other, hang on, I think we might have a commissioner question for you, so stick around.
You're important. You get to stay there.
Tim, go ahead.
Well, I appreciate you're talking about that. As you may or may not know, the city of Mount Shasta is planning to build housing, for sale housing, on what we call the landing.
For sale, you said?
Pardon?
Did you say for sale?
For sale, homes for sale on the landing.
Okay.
So that addresses some of the other concerns that have been expressed here tonight. Again, that doesn't solve the rental issue in Mount Shasta, the rental problem in Mount Shasta. And I was talking to a broker earlier today. I happen to be a landlord myself. Have nothing against landlords or developers, and I don't mean to sound like we're picking on you at all. But if the units are sold as condominiums, and the condominium owner, your son or whoever, doesn't choose to live in that condominium, yes, the person can rent it out, but it's going to be rented out at a higher rent than what the rents are now, because the buyers are going to have additional money in and additional expenses. So the rent's going to go up and make that existing rental unit less affordable. At least in my mind, that's one of my concerns. And that's why I was trying to see if there was some way that we could perhaps continue this hearing for a month till next month to give staff and you an opportunity to address some of these issues.
That's a commission thing.
Right, that's up to us. We'll decide.
We decide this.
Yeah. To whether, we will decide whether to continue. Yeah.
They can, if there's some sort of agreement reached or proposal, we can consider that at the next meeting.
Then I think maybe,
But we have to use the mic.
I think that may be something that we're going to need to discuss as a group rather than to the developer or to the landlord. I'm not sure. I mean, he's not going to, he can't.
We'll decide that. That'll be one of the things we'll consider, or somebody
Because
might
we
make
may
a
not
motion
agree
to
with
do
you and what you want,
Well,
right?
That's absolutely correct.
Right.
And it's also, it's not at all unusual, at least from city council perspective, we would oftentimes invite some further discussion with staff and see if some sort of agreement could be worked out that might be suitable.
But that's probably to be decided amongst us.
And that would come back to the commission.
Okay,
as a
well,
proposal.
so let's talk about the things so I think we've had 3 issues. I think we've agreed that 2 of them potentially are resolved. I think that we have conditions of approval proposed by city staff that could help us work on that, and we'll get to that in a minute. I think we may need to take a little break to have time to read it before we decide on that. But I think the place that we're struggling right now is what kind of tenant protections. We already have the state of California's tenant protections in place, which are robust. We've talked about, Tim suggested, 10 years until you sell, but that is a pretty onerous request because if you want to continue to build
So Melanie,
additional
I think that this
housing.
should be talked about.
Right, so, we will. We have plenty of time for that. So I'm saying is, but while we still have you up here, we've talked about first right of refusal is a condition that you would agree to, that would work for you and work for you going forward, if we
I think
put
that works with us. I mean, and it's fine, as I said before. This should not be an issue because in effect, it's just if we put the house, let's say you're the tenant, I'll ask you, would like to buy the house for, say, $100,000. He says, I'm not interested. So the next day I put it on the market. It doesn't change much.
Doesn't change much, but it does give that person the
That's fine.
opportunity.
Of course, yes.
Right, and so that's great. So that is one potential condition we can add that works for you. It sounds like the leasing works otherwise. It sounds like there are provisions in state code about providing if somebody is evicted not for cause, that there are other protections for tenants.
Challenge, yeah.
Right. So I'm going to suggest, unless, because I would like to get through this tonight, I would suggest that does anybody else have a potential tenant protection that they would like to see if that would work for them? Otherwise, I think I'm going to close the hearing and we're going to have commission discussion. Is there anything else? And use the mic, please.
I have a question of staff. The process, we've talked about the process, Malouf, correct?
Malouf, yes.
Malouf went through, and he got his, the agreement for the additional units. Was that based on them being rentals, or was it just, that's just the process they went through at the time, or?
It's
Could it have been condos at the time?
the developer went through that density bonus provision back in 2022. There was no distinction at the time whether or not these would be for rent in perpetuity or for rent to for sale at certain period. That was not discussed because it's not really a land use issue.
The program, whatever, for getting density bonuses isn't based on one or the other.
It is not. It in fact says that the affordable units go with the units, and so for rent or for sale, the affordability factor still applies.
So that's a deed restriction.
The deed restriction, I'm sorry,
For
the deed restriction
55
is
years,
applicable
right.
for a rent model or a for sale model.
Okay.
So that doesn't change.
So it was the agreement to give them the density bonus. There was no requirement for rentals.
Correct. There was no requirement at the time.
So, can I mention things? So as probably you guys, similar to the SB9, SB10 models, so these are California-specific laws that give those specific density bonus units. So it's nothing to do with the city itself. These are California's specific functions.
Okay, anything else? Team? Okay, thank you. Appreciate your help with this. All right, anybody else want to speak to us? Otherwise, I'm going to
Are you
close.
opening the public hearing again?
That was, no, I'm closing the public hearing. And now, commissioners, thoughts going forward. Belinda? Mike?
Yes. I think that the snow and trash has been dealt with, and we understand
Have
now.
you read, I feel like I need a minute to read what Kim has written about proposed changes to
So do we want to take a 5-minute, use the bathroom, read the little things and stuff, or do you want to read them out loud, or?
I don't really want to read them out loud. I think I want to read them to myself. Okay, let's take a 5-minute break, and we're going to...
A study break or whatever.
A study break, and we're going to read your proposals for conditions of approval and come back to it.
Okay, because I have to.
Or whatever you want me to have a little longer.
language for the trash is from the municipal code because we already have the same language that exists in our code. Actually, no, not the trash, the snow.
Right.
The snow language comes out of the municipal code.
It's right out of it, yeah.
The trash language comes
so I need people to be quiet. All right, are we live? Thank you very much. All right, we're back from our break. We're still working on item 5, which is the public hearing for the tentative parcel map at 804 Carmen Drive. Commissioners, I'm going to let folks have comments and questions about where we are in the process. Belinda?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I feel good about the project as presented. I like some of the changes we're proposing to put together for the conditions of approval. I haven't identified what they need to be yet, but generally feel good about the proposal.
Okay, well, I'll talk about that a little bit. Tim?
I make a motion that we table action on this item until the next meeting to give developer and staff an opportunity to discuss some of the issues that raised tonight, maybe brainstorm and come back with something that we all feel good about, that will meet the concerns.
Okay. We have a motion from Tim. Do we have a second? We don't have a second, so our motion fails for lack of a second. With that, do we have anything else to add?
I would move that we add some additional conditions to the approval in terms of provision for displaced tenants in good standing, and also a period of time, say 10 years, for at least half the units to remain rental and not be sold.
Okay, so you move to approve with 2 conditions of approval. With two additional conditions of approval.
And actually, there's another one.
Okay, that third.
Thank you. That the sales be for full-time ownership usage rather than for vacation homes.
Oh,
Can't
that's
enforce that.
If I can interject.
Please, we appreciate
Our
interjection.
2 properties are ineligible for short-term rental permits already, so this property already does not qualify for a short-term rental permit.
But I think his point has to do with basically having an empty condominium, because the person who purchased it as a vacation home instead of as their primary residence. Am I correct?
Yeah, we have a number of homes that were available for locals in the past, but have been bought up in our town to be used for vacation rentals by the owners. Oftentimes, 4th of July, ski season, and usually is 1 or 2 weeks out of the year as their second home. But it's taken both the rental and the long-term ownership for locals off the market.
Right.
So
Made those
this is
homes
a
unavailable.
familiar problem. Has cities responded? That's a problem a lot of cities have. Are there ways other communities have responded to that? I mean, I would think that in taking this individual project and conditioning it that way would be potentially problematic, unless there's a way, a model that other communities have used to somehow restrict that, have that sort of restriction.
Are we talking about prohibition for any sort of rental?
No. We're talking about
be
whether
empty.
the house is occupied as a primary residence or as a vacation second home.
That is a larger discussion that will need to be had.
Yeah,
It's
I understand.
it's a problem that Tahoe area has experienced. And there have been a number of articles, publicity about how locals can't find a place to live.
I share your concern about that 100%. However, I think to Alan's point that conditioning this property and not looking at other properties in town is problematic. But go ahead with your, continue with your motion, please.
Well, let's take those three separately. How's that?
So right now you have a motion to approve with a 10-year prohibition on selling half of the units. Oh, what were the others? And and not allowing the units to be used as a second home, but rather they need to be a primary occupancy. And what was the third one?
Provision for displaced tenants.
And a provision for, okay, so we have a motion.
That can be discussed as to what those provisions would be.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second? And we don't have a second, so that motion dies. I'm going to take a crack. I'm going to let you know what I'm thinking about this. So one, because we have agreement with the project proponent that we could include an additional condition on top of these, that a tenant in good standing would get first right of refusal for purchase during a condominium conversion. I would propose that as, I'm not making a motion, I am opening this up for conversation with the commissioners. I would propose that as a condition of approval to include first right of refusal for purchase for a tenant in good standing.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah,
Tim, do those hold teeth?
use your mic.
Does that-
Use your mic.
Do those hold teeth? I mean, as the developer said, he's not going to keep it secret from the tenant that it's up for sale. I mean, it's not
But before it goes to market, it would, the tenant would have first right of refusal before they.
Okay.
That sounds legal to me.
I found it, other cities do this. Other cities do this.
We can't get input from our developer?
Well, I
here
asked him that one specifically, and he said it was all right. So that's why
Well,
I,
his hand's up, and I wanted to, can we still do that?
come on up and
And,
we'll.
and that was the reason, rather than trying to work all this out tonight.
Well, that one I think we could work out
Just want to
tonight.
clarify, this is David Malouf, I want to just clarify one statement. The lease does specify clearly that the complex, the units, will convert to condos. So they're already aware of it, not like I need to tell them, they're already aware.
Thank you.
In their leases, and they sign on it.
Okay, great, thank you. So it's really just giving the tenant the opportunity to figure out if they can buy it before it goes on the market.
Okay.
That's my proposed condition. My second, so we have the conditions that we'll also have to talk about here that we could add to the project. Because I was concerned that I just wanted to make sure we noted that in terms of the project description, that the property is compatible in its existing state with a condo conversion. Nothing needs to be modified. And so when I was talking to Kim earlier, that's why I wanted to include it as one of our conditions so that the public would know that, as I think doing our duty to say that this property can be converted to condominiums without modification because it exists in that state. So that's why that is in here. So that's something that if we decide that these new conditions of approval are satisfactory, that's why that one's in there. And if we want to include that.
That's an additional condition of approval you want added?
That she added that we have before us in this memo.
Yeah.
That's why that's in there, and that's why I thought it was a good idea. Regarding the trash, number 9, I don't think that this, I think that maybe this is part of the problem because it doesn't, it says that the trash has to go in bins or trash collection receptacles, the only trash collection receptacles that tenants have right now are the ones that are provided by Waste Management, and those are part of the problem because they don't keep wildlife out, and wildlife is the problem. So I don't think that this condition of approval is satisfactory. I'd like to change it. I also think that the snow one, because it comes straight out of our code, is adequate, and I'm happy with that. So we need another condition about how that there was an enforcement problem, and it doesn't. If this is what if this is what it says in their CC&Rs, that doesn't say that you have to store it in the garage. So what they have now is therefore inadequate, in my opinion, because there's a problem.
Yeah, I'd like to see the CC&Rs before I vote.
Well, I don't think that the commission can weigh in on
Only
it.
because I've written them. I also have represented HOAs and POAs, and I have familiarity.
Right, well, this is, according to Kim, she pulled these right out of the CC&Rs. And so,
So we could change it to, rather than within the development, within each owner's garage.
right. I mean, I'm sympathetic because I would want to keep my bike and my car in there. I hope there's room for enough of that, but really.
But you said that there's already a little area that.
So there's an area that's adequate to store
Alan said it was
trash.
big enough.
Alan thinks, well,
Not if you have a huge pickup.
Well, that won't fit in there probably anyway, but anyway.
right,
With those
okay.
size of pickups these days.
So I would suggest that we need to change this so that trash is stored in individual garages.
Can be stored. We're not going to force the tenants to do that.
If they don't do that, then the trash is going
I
to
live
be-
not very far from there for quite a long time. I never put my trash inside. I didn't keep my trash inside.
Did you read, but you saw Linda's Chitwood's letter, that right
did.
now, the Bears have found their
Yeah,
trash
and
cans.
those landowners need to be proactive about that. I don't know that writing a condition of approval for them to put it inside, it's, I don't know, a place we want to start. If they, I lived there nearby for, you know how long I lived there,
I live
out in the corner there.
outside.
Outside?
Yes.
Not within the fence? Your fence
No,
line?
Well, the fences don't matter.
ever. I had bears in the backyard a bunch of times. Not a bunch of times, but enough times.
Well, right now, there's a bear problem, the way people are storing
So this is
their.
an opportunity.
This is an opportunity to actually say you have to store it in your garage because that's the only way to keep the bears from knocking over the trash cans.
Okay.
So that's my suggestion.
Individual garages
Yeah.
located within the individual. Let's see how.
And it's individual garage, right?
Tenants, individual garages.
And intended for trash collection.
Okay. All right, so
That was number 5?
so,
No, I meant number 5.
number
Condition
5,
of approval.
what do we
That's
say?
the fifth add one? Or is that the- I know it's number 9. We have, she wanted to add first right of refusal as our first COA.
Oh, we would add an 11th condition of approval, which would be that tenants in good standing have first right of refusal to purchase if and when the rental unit is turned into a condominium.
So first right?
First right of refusal.
Trash.
Yeah.
And then all of those,
And then I would say the resolution and the conditions as submitted by staff with the following changes.
I am not. What? I am not. I can't read you. Right. Yeah.
So, does somebody want to take a
But
crack at
Linda's-
that?
Linda's taking a crack right now.
Oh, good.
And I told him he had to do it.
And I said,
Soaked my back packet.
Okay, but you have to speak into the mic.
Yeah, I am, but I'm comprising myself. I make a motion.
Wait a minute. Don't we have discussion before motion?
We certainly can. Yes, please, if
Okay,
you
or
have some.
we can have discussion after the motion.
No, you can, please, go ahead. The way we do it is very collaborative before, and usually by the time we get to a motion, we've kind of agreed with where we're heading, is how we typically do it. So if you have more to add, please do.
Well, I'll see if I'll put it in my motion.
Go ahead.
That's where it comes down to. Because I haven't agreed with you yet.
is this the language, Rebecca?
Okay, I'm going to make a motion because.
Wait, I'd like to hear what Tim has to say,
Go
if he
ahead,
wants to
make
add
the
something.
motion, then be discussion of the motion.
And then you want to, well, no,
Well,
but we
be
can
discussion of
amend
the motion
it.
before vote.
But usually what we do is we've built our motion before the final motion is made. That's what we usually do.
Which is what we just
So if you
did.
want to add to what potentially is going to be the motion that Belinda makes, or if you have opinions about what I said, please go ahead and chime in now.
Well, again, I would propose.
Louder, I can't hear you. And if I'm writing this
Move it over here
down,
this way. Again, I would propose that there be some consideration or protections for tenants who get displaced, who can't afford to buy the unit, number one. And I don't know if we discussed that separately. Is there anyone other than the chair who agrees with that idea?
Well, that was why I proposed the first right of refusal as one protection. I think that the state of California has quite a few protections in place. And I think that anything else that we put on there, I'm hoping to take the project proponent at his word that the midterm view is to retain these as rentals. I don't want to, I would like for them to be able to access some of that equity they have in there, and if with the condo conversion, then they can mortgage individual units, and that gives them cash to start another project, which I think would be lovely in our town. If we can facilitate that, I think this is an opportunity.
At the present time, if the city were to approve, take discretionary action to approve the request to convert to condominiums, there is nothing to prevent the developer from selling all 12 immediately.
That's right. But there's there's nothing in place right now either.
And the problem, he was willing to make a handshake agreement, but not anything that was enforceable. Okay.
They're existing lease agreements.
There is, I've looked at the last two general plan housing elements. They both, going back to the 2014 to 2024, or 2014 to 2019 rather, goal number one was adequate supply of housing, provide an adequate supply of sound, affordable housing for existing and future residents. More specifically, HO 4.2.3 of that general plan housing element said the city shall consider adopting a condominium conversion ordinance that would limit the ability to convert from rental units to condominium units, taking into account the impact of the conversion on the availability of rental units. In the new general plan housing element. One moment. There is considerable discussion about the shortage of rental housing. Also, not only the shortage of rental housing, but the rents being overburdened, meaning rent is overburdening if it's more than 30% of a person's income or household income. To a great extent, rentals in Mount Shasta are as much as 48% of a person's income or a household income. If these units are sold as condominiums and then rented out again, that's going to raise the rents, making them less affordable, which is contrary to the intent of the general plan.
I would argue that that's not necessarily how it would happen. If they were able to get, say, $1,200 a month for it, by buying it, they're going to get $1,500 by buying
it? When property is sold,
I know.
Typically the rent goes up because the buyer has to cover additional costs and has.
And does that mean that there'll be people available to pay that? If they found a level where they're able, that we've found that nobody pays over $1,200 here, and they decide to, we need more, so we're gonna charge more.
No.
Not having renters is gonna affect that price, I would assume.
Yes, but traditionally, again, I spoke with the broker earlier today.
Rather than, what are you making, what do you want to add to this, and I'll see if I want to put it in there. I think that's the way it works, isn't it?
Well, I'm discussing the pros and cons of this.
You have discussed the pros and cons.
And let me go further, because it's in our general plan housing element. For multiple years, Mount Shasta rental vacancy rate has been 0.
So I think that I don't want to run afoul of our housing element in any stretch. Taking him for his word, this has the potential to create more housing by freeing up funds to build more housing. Therefore, I'm not sure that we can predict there will be housing, even if, tomorrow they could put all 12 of them on the market and they could be sold to somebody else, right? There's things that are out of our control.
May I continue?
Mm-hmm.
Again, the current general plan housing element, section 5.8.1, which talks about existing affordable housing. Affordable housing is below a certain income level. Indicates there are 91 housing units and 3 properties that are at risk of converting to market rate within 10 years from the start of the planning period of the city's 2023-2031 housing element. Some of those units probably won't convert from affordable housing to market rate. But there is a possibility that at least 28 of those units will convert, meaning making.
We have to use, okay, let us finish his sentence, and then I do want to hear what you have to say. Okay. Finish your sentence, Tim.
The program F2 in the housing element action plan talks about reduce conversion risks. Because the city council has indicated the importance of keeping rentals. It's not a right to convert from a rental to a condominium. That's a discretionary action. And what we as city representatives have to look at is what's in the best interest of the city and the citizens of the city, not just the developer.
I agree.
Go
Go ahead, yeah.
Most of what you read, and I understand we have a problem with housing. Housing, whether it's rentals, whether it's houses for sale. I think both of those exist. We've all three been on the Planning Commission 12 years or more. We're familiar with the direction we want to take.
Can use mic.
Sorry. What we've been trying to do is build a motion that it may not be unanimous, but we've had 2 motions from you that have been voted down. We're trying to build a motion that it might not get all 4 of us, but that we might pass. So can we do that?
Yes, if we can at least protect, if not all of the units for a period of time, at least some of the units for a period of time as
Tim,
rentals.
that's not how it works. We don't have to agree that that's what we have to do.
No,
the 3 of us can come up with something and vote on it, and it doesn't have to. It does not have to be protecting how you're interpreting that.
Exactly true.
Okay.
And Alan, what you had asked, if I understood your question correctly, is there a way that we can make this unanimous?
No, I didn't.
That's what I thought you had said.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
I said Melanie typically wants to have a unanimous across the board. I think that's a worthy goal. I don't care.
Well, okay, so, I mean, I agree to Tim's point, but I have to say, we talked about doing a condo conversion ordinance, and we couldn't get city council to do that. So, for years, we've talked about trying to do a condo conversion ordinance, and without buy-in from city council, it never happened. So, this is what we have today. We don't have guidance with an ordinance. I think we have an opportunity to potentially, again, taking him at his word, to build more units by doing this. And that's what they say, the more we build, the more housing opportunities we'll have. Thank goodness we have target income housing being built right this minute here in town. And that's huge. And that was, 15 years in the making. So I think that this one happened fairly quickly. If that's how they move, we potentially could have more housing soon, and more housing is going to help take some of the pressure off. And you got to.
I'm also not sure that this complex, it's new, it's not affordable housing.
It has 2 units.
It has the 2 units, but it is not, it never has been affordable.
It's not affordable housing except for the 2 units, but it is rental housing. And the general plan makes it very clear.
Both. We don't know what its future is.
The general plan makes it very.
We don't know whether he's going to sell all of it, or he's going to rent all of it, or he's going to keep it as rentals and sell one. And we can't do that. If we're going to do that, we're not going to get anybody to build anything. Because it's too restrictive.
We also don't have any assurance. I mean, there's a carrot saying, hey, let us convert these and sell them and we'll build more units, but there's no assurance of that either.
There's very little assurance.
No.
But
And
we're
that's
hoping.
the nature of
And
development.
what I heard the developer say was, let me sell some of the units so that we have some money.
Okay,
No, that's
I'm
not what
going
he
to-
said.
I'm
That's
going to
not
make-
actually what he said. So do you want to interject just a moment? Please go ahead.
This is David Malouf again. I'd like to provide you some facts. I think there's a presumptions that Tim, you mentioned. If it gets sold, somebody buys it, the new rent going to be higher. I think this is not correct. In the same street on Carmen and the block next to it, There are lots of condominiums just across city. You, anybody can get the statistics and realize that actually rentals there exist predominantly also, even though there are condominiums. Does not mean it's a condominiums, the ownership means you have higher prices. Those prices actually are lower, and also they are for rent. So it does not mean condominium meaning is no longer available. These are statistics. If you want to know the future, even though in 10 years or 20 years, it will follow that statistics. These are the facts. Anything else becomes speculative. And these facts are very positively speaking that the future will not change much on the rental market, even though there are condos. And just in the same block, not across the town, it's just the next building, the next building. So all that block are condominiums, and rentals is dominant. So I'm going to say these are facts that you own.
All right, thank you. All right, I think it's time to
Try and make a motion.
go ahead and let's see where we go with
Try and
this.
implement this. Where did that page go that you handed me that had the thank you.
It's the wrong number. I don't know what unit is this one? 30. Which one are we talking about? 306?
The first one is
Agenda 5 is 804.
804, 806, and 809, are they dealt with separately then?
well, yeah.
Correct. Right now,
we've probably
we're-
done the heavy lifting. I'm hoping.
We are currently on agenda number 5, which is 804 Carmen Drive.
I have it somewhere. Oh, there it is. So I make a motion to approve the resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Mount Shasta, California, approving the, and we're just going to start with the first one, right? This is 3 elements?
Well, no, we're gonna have
Or are we gonna
three
bundle it?
separate, no, we're gonna do 3 separate public hearings, but like I say, I think we've done the heavy lifting, so we're just going to do this one right now. But
Which one?
we're just right now.
804.
We're only doing 804.
Oh. Right there.
Yep.
Approving the tentative parcel map at 804 Common Drive, Mount Shasta, California. With the addition, the findings have been, so the findings are a separate approval, aren't they usually? Huh? Conditions of approval. See, why aren't you doing this like I told you?
You're doing
That we
great.
add to our conditions of approval the first right of refusal to any tenant in good standing.
In the
that
case of a
the-
conversion, yeah.
Huh?
In the case of it being sold as a condominium.
In the case of it being sold as a condominium. That we approve the snow removal aspect that was in question, and that we have changed slightly the trash to include, rather than trash collection receptacles located within the development, they will now be, tenants will keep their trash collection in their individual garages.
They're trash receptacles.
Well,
Do you want to, so you could say that the memo that the city staff provided with the new conditions of approval, because we also have the project description
And
added.
this is including the memo that the city planner, right? City
Correct. Correct.
gave us with all the additional information, and approved those findings and conditions.
Can you make that pretty for us?
I can make that pretty for you, staff copies. So if I understand correctly, the motion from Commissioner Higuera is to approve this proposal, subject to the revised conditions of approval as indicated in the memo brought to you this evening, with additional changes outlining the fact that, number 1, there will be a condition written in for tenants in good standing to have first right of refusal for purchase of unit. There is a modification in the trash or rubbish condition of approval in that no occupant shall permit or
Tenant.
the occupant or tenant shall keep their trash inside their individual garages, and that this also includes the acceptance of the snow provisions that are added as number 10.
I will second that.
Oh, we have a motion. We have a second from Commissioner Pardee. Commissioners, all in favor? Aye. Commissioners opposed?
Nay.
Shall we have 3 in favor, 1 opposed? Commissioner Stearns opposed. The motion passes. And now we're finished with item 5. We're going to move on to item 6. I'm going to speed this up. And unless commissioners have any objections, I am going to open the public hearing, because it is a public hearing, and request that anybody who'd like to come to speak to us on this item, you may come up now. This is, oh, I'm sorry, fair enough.
It's 806 Carmen Drive.
Right, so this is the same thing, a tentative parcel map for 4 condominiums at 806 Carmen Drive. Essentially, the entire packet is identical to the one we just went through for 804 Carmen Drive. If anybody'd like to come speak, you may do so now. You have 3 minutes, and let us know who you are so the public will know who you are. Introduce yourself.
Johanna Eltorfer. I just wanted to add that we want to make sure if you're adding conditions that perhaps, I don't know, but I think it should be looked into, and perhaps it could be made a condition of to have condos be subject to rent control and just cause eviction rules. Because I think there's some question that might not be the case with condos as it is with rental units. So that might be a good condition to add. And also that everything is in writing versus a handshake deal, because that's just not good business practice. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank
Anybody?
you.
All right, anybody else? Okay, I am going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, comments, questions? Otherwise, I'll take a motion.
I move to duplicate the 804 conditions of approval for the 806 Carmen Drive, Mount Shasta, California.
Okay, we have a motion from Belinda to approve the motion duplicating the previous motion for 804. Do I have a second? Second. Alan Pardee seconded. Commissioners, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
So the motion passes with 3 in favor, 1 opposed. Tim Stearns opposed. Moving on to item 7, tentative parcel map for 4 condominiums at 809 Carmen Drive. Again, for the public, this staff report, all of the provisions, everything is a duplication of the previous 2 because it's a public hearing. Unless there's objection from commissioners, I'm going to open the public hearing. If anybody would like to speak to us on this condo conversion, please come up now. You have 3 minutes. Seeing no one coming up to speak to us, I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, comments, or does somebody want to make a motion?
I move to approve the conditions for the 809 Carmen Drive, Mount Shasta, California, as the duplicate of the 804 and 806 Carmen Drive.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Alan seconded.
Clarification.
I beg you, yes.
I think the moving party wants to move adoption of resolution PC 2026-003 with the same changes that were made for 804 and 806.
You know what? That's tidying it up. Thank you. Is that all right with the motion and the second? All right. Then, commissioners, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
So the motion passes, 3 in favor, 1 opposed. Tim Stearns opposing. And thank you, everyone. We're going to move on to a completely different topic now. Item 8, which is a public hearing
This sucker out of the way.
for a revised architectural review for our Chestnut Street buildings on the Chestnut Street project.
Paging Commissioner Sarian.
And we can have Commissioner Sarian rejoin us. Patient Commissioner Sarian. All right. All right, Kim, take it away, please.
Okay, Planning Commissioners, the next item on the agenda is item number 8. This is for a revised architectural design review for the Mountain Townhomes at the corner of Chestnut and Ivy. Since approval of this project back in 2023, the construction team has identified that perhaps stucco is not the best siding material as it cracks and it requires a lot of maintenance. So the construction team is coming back to staff now and through the Planning Commission seeking approval to have areas where the siding has been approved as stucco to now be siding, lap siding instead. There are no color changes, there are no other changes. It's just a material change for the buildings.
Can I ask first? Can I start?
Are you done?
Yeah, sure, I'm done. That was it.
Okay. Then, yes.
That siding, can we specify that it's not wood siding?
We can, in fact, it may already be specified. Let me go to the page.
It just says siding in what or lap siding, and I just, Tucson, what's the concrete?
Fiber cement lap
Fiber cement,
siding.
yeah.
So it's fiber cement.
Yeah,
Hardy siding.
hardy board, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that, thank you.
Okay, sorry, managing pieces of paper. All right, so we've ascertained that it's basically hardy plank equivalent. Any other questions or comments for staff, clarifications for staff at this time? Susan?
Do you know if color is it going to be a different color? I know from the vertical to the horizontal, or is it going to be all one color?
Whatever colors were previously approved shall remain. So there are no color changes. So if it was red stucco, it's still red siding.
Okay.
I have something to say, actually.
Go ahead.
So I don't necessarily agree with their stucco thing, seeing as how Berryvale is stuccoed to death, and but they may not have the money to do as good a stucco job as we did, so I understand that. But what I don't like is that they took and rather than having, they had been doing boards this way, and all of a sudden they got all the boards going like this.
Right, so I apologize if that was a little bit confusing. So in figure 2, in your staff report, the red bubbles and the orange bubbles are calling out where the materials have changed from stucco to siding. If you go down to figure 3, staff identified a few sections where it kind of looked funny in that the original approval may have had siding go horizontal, but maybe in this exhibit it's now vertical. So there was clarification with Danco. The confirmation is that no, there are no siding changes whatsoever. So if it was previously approved as horizontal, those planes are still horizontal. If it was previously approved as vertical, those planes are still vertical. The reason for the inconsistency in this particular drawing is some sketch program that they were using couldn't manipulate the layers to show them correctly. But they did confirm, and I will verify with our building inspector, that the siding orientation has not changed and is not proposed to change.
So will all the siding
Here, Mike.
So all the siding will be one direction?
No. Whatever, so siding for for architecture, relief and so
Got it.
on. It was previously proposed to be a combination of vertical and horizontal, and that has not changed. Even though it may look like that in this exhibit,
Got
the
it.
siding hasn't changed.
I don't like it. I like to stay with stucco. That's what I say.
And, okay. Anything else, commissioners, before I open up the public?
If I might expand on that, one of the reasons I think staying with, I like that look of differing materials. It helps with the mass and the feel of the building. I don't think that having it all be, given the size of the structure and stuff like that, having it all be linear, whether it's both vertical and horizontal, I don't think is pleasing to the eye. And I don't think that trying to save the developer some money just because it's a little bit more, they didn't figure that in. No, to me, I say no.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. I'm going to open up our public hearing for the revised architectural design review for 735 Chestnut Street. If anybody would like to come speak, introduce yourself, and you've got 3 minutes.
Johanna Altorfer, and I think I have a solution for your siding dilemma. Hardy board makes a smooth board, a smooth wall, which is, because the fiber cement board is basically, it's almost like a stucco. You have to use a cement saw to cut it, but they make a smooth board that's flat, and it's got a very nice finish to it. And I know this because I'm using Hardy board myself. So it's a great product. It's a little bit more work, but I think it'll give the desired effects. And Hardy board has it has smooth board and it has
Textured.
it has the horizontal panels. And like Solano's carries it, and you can just buy it. So, but smooth board would probably be the way to go to keep your architectural differences. And then Hardy board is really not that much different than stucco. Anyway, those are just my 2 cents. So I think you can make it work.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Anybody else? You know what?
And they left.
This is the only thing we have tonight on our agenda that relates to that. This is a public hearing.
She's got to come up to this. She's going to.
All right, so anyway, this is, if they're not here, and this was on the agenda, I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I wish they were here. Okay, so
Come to the
then if
mic.
you're going to speak to us, you can come on up and introduce yourself and talk into the mic, and then we're happy to engage and hear what you have to
Because we
say.
can't really hear you.
And we need to make sure that the public needs to be able to hear what the conversation is. 'cause
I'd
this
love
is
to
a
be
public hearing.
recorded. Okay, so you're talking about a Danko project at Chestnut Street.
Wait, so introduce yourself, please, first.
Therese Swenson.
Thank you. 3 minutes.
At the beginning of this meeting, I didn't know Danko was on the agenda, and I spoke to Kim about my question that there is now 24 units, 3 stories high, and my question to all of you is, do you know anybody that has only 1 car in their house? And I think we have a consideration of 50 cars at that corner that have to be dealt with. I don't know how much on-site parking they have. I don't know if there's curb parking, but I've made a suggestion that the property that's adjoining, that's owned by the city, be typed and stabilized and made into parking with solar covers that would light up the whole corner. So I think we have to resolve a parking problem because I don't know one person that has 1 car. So I think that needs to be addressed as to how many parking places they have on site, and it needs to be resolved, and we own the property next door. The city does. So thanks for listening.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, then I'm going to close our public hearing. Commissioners, Tucson?
The idea of the hardy panels that are flat.
Or maybe it's quiet. Is it on?
Is this on?
Oh, yeah, it's on, okay.
I kind of like the idea of the massing if they're that much different. And that might be a solution using the hardy panels, although the problem is the seams.
You still see seams.
So they'll have to put, you know, a batten over that, but they'll be much further away than, I'm not sure how it would look, is what I'm saying.
How big are the panels?
Usually like, 4 by 8, 3 by 5.
Like
something like
T111
that.
plywood, whatever, yeah.
So that's something that they would use probably under their board and batten siding, is the vertical, very likely.
It's not used as a,
Not usually, but I have heard of stucco panels that are not stucco, but textured panels. Something that they could look at, although there's very thin seams.
Still seams, though?
Yeah, but they're almost not noticeable.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm not sure if we can get that specific in this response.
well, we could generally say that, it can't be the linear panel, it can't be a linear
Lap
lap.
look.
They might have a seam that's, that's part of those products that are like inset.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't have to be like a thick batten over it, but it could be like a thin inset.
Do
and
they-
it could be part of the architecture.
Do they do that? Have I seen that with, like, is it aluminum or some?
Yeah, it could be like an aluminum channel
Yeah.
that's intentional,
I guess, but, yeah, and a 4x8 unit, I assume, still.
Yes, some large panel
Some
like
large
that,
panels.
yeah.
Sorry, that's better than what they're proposing, but I don't like what they're proposing. That's I don't know how,
I'm thrilled that we have 2 design professionals on the Planning Commission to help us with this, so thank you. Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. Belinda? Alan, anything else? Mike?
well, no, just what I said. I don't think we should say no.
Okay. Tim? Well, I think we can say no. The Danco folks aren't here. That makes it a lot harder for us. So they're not here. And I think it's probably time sensitive, judging from where they are in the stage of construction.
They are hoping to have the first set of CEOs by November.
So, but they want to put siding on.
But working backwards from November, there are still many things to do.
Right, oh, okay, but putting siding on there, well, perhaps we could continue this and they could come back with a proposal for something besides lap siding.
Can we ask them to come and present and tell them our concerns, kind of thing? And extend and continue this meeting? Can we do that?
Yes, we can do that.
And could we suggest that these products that were mentioned as an alternative, and that maybe they could bring those products in so we could see them?
Yes.
Okay,
Them do a little work here?
or at least some way to describe how, something besides what they've proposed.
Correct.
To preserve what we approved, to preserve the look of what we approved, however many years ago that was.
Duly noted. So the intent is to have varying textures, so it's not just siding.
Lines.
Lines, yeah.
Right, that is what we approved.
Okay.
And it was lengthy.
Can I make a motion?
Go for it.
I make a motion, we continue this meeting and request the developer show up with samples or some other way of showing examples of their proposal, and let them know that we're not in favor of the lines.
Do we have a second?
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And Tucson seconded. Commissioners, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None, motion passes unanimously. I love that. Moving on to discussion of item 9, we're going to discuss our parklet ordinance. Kim.
Good evening again. Agenda number 9. This is a result of a new planning director coming into a seat and auditing all of the ordinances on her desk and going, oh, hey, there might be an opportunity to revisit some of these items. The city's parklet ordinance last came to the Planning Commission roughly about a year ago when Jeff Mitchum was still here. I recently reviewed the tapes for the 4 public hearings that this ordinance went through. The Planning Commission at the time spoke at length about the difference between the temporary parklets as they are now and what it would mean to convert them to something that looks more like a permanent feature. So in 2025, the Commission adopted some language around design permanence and character. So there are three or four paragraphs in here that speak to that. When I joined the city staff back over the summer of 2025, I noticed that the first sentence in the ordinance still said temporary non-permanent. So part of this exercise is to clean up some language if the commission still agrees that going towards a more permanent feature is the way to go. So we would be striking out the temporary non-permanent language to make the ordinance internally consistent and replacing that with permanent. Another item that came up was a review logistical item in that the ordinance on paper requires the Planning Commission to review and approve the parklets on an annual basis. In reality, because we have 2 parklets that have already been approved, they just get renewed annually by staff, and that has not been coming back to the Planning Commission. So the question tonight is also, does the Commission wish to see these annual parklet renewals? Or would you like staff to review the renewals? Or would you like to review just the new ones that come in for review and approval and staff can handle the renewals, or any one of the combinations or permutations thereof? And then the last one is the last item is just a recommendation for encouraging the use of canopies and covers so that on a bright sunny day, maybe there might be an encouragement to use an umbrella or some other shading material for guests that are sitting outside. That is all I have for right now. There are 2 photos of the parklets, one for Pipeline and one for Craft House, included in your staff report. This is just a discussion item, so at this point, staff will just be seeking Planning Commission direction on next steps.
Thank you. All right, commissioners, let's start down at your end. Tim, thoughts, questions?
I would like to give owners an opportunity to have either permanent or temporary, because there are some restaurants that may be seasonal. As long as they create a stable platform, then they can remove it when they're off to wherever. So that would be one thing. In terms of requirement that they have a covering, I think that would be up to the business owner. They might decide to use umbrellas. They might decide because of their particular location, it's already in the shade, so they don't really need a covering. And most importantly, I think once the standards are in place, we ought to let the staff ministerially approve.
Okay. Alan? Mike?
I want to entertain the idea of them being, the way they're being built now, even the newest ones, they're not permanent.
Correct.
So, I mean, using the terminology, maybe that's why we got stuck on it. I actually would like them to be hardscape and steel myself, and either they take up the sidewalk and the sidewalk we moved out and take out the, I'm not horribly satisfied with the parklet idea as it stands. I mean, they add nice seating there, a good little addition. I like the fact that we have that outdoor seating option. I like the idea of having, the reason I like the covering and stuff like that is because it adds color and movement, and that's the thing I like about it. The other thing I noted on the page that is Chapter 19.03, parklet dining.
That's the ordinance as it's written today.
Okay. You caught the non-permanent and non-permanent platform constructed?
Put the letter to it.
Are you talking about A?
A.
Yeah.
But it says is constructed within the traveled portion. We don't have them in the traveled portion either. They're in the parking portion. They're not in the traveled way.
It's considered part of the travel, part
It
of the
also
street.
it says here, in the parking lane, separate language on Part C. So all I'm looking for is consistency in language. I know that
Yeah, noted.
that is, what we have is C, on-street dining, by this definition. I don't care what we call them, really. But that, just going along with your update of the language here, let's get that as well, please. I would prefer, of these descriptions, I know this is going backwards in time, but I would prefer the sidewalk cafe. That's mine. That's the one I want.
What would you prefer to be?
B.
My understanding, when we were having these conversations, that a sidewalk cafe was something that is on the sidewalk where it would be a deeper sidewalk than we typically have, that was a very separate thing than a parklet, which is something that is in the street.
It's more closer to
No,
the
I understand. No, I
storefront.
think you're right.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I like them.
I like them too.
There's a bunch of them down in Chico and stuff like that I think are really, they're attractive. They're instead of, anyway, I like them.
But we don't have adequate sidewalks generally.
Well, then the sidewalk in Chico, what they've done is, here's your traveled way, here's your parking strips and the buildings on either side. They move they move the sidewalk into the parking lane.
Oh, and so that is permanent.
Yes. Now, we have a problem partially because we have such a highly humped road. So there are some physical issues in the design of it, but it could be done, couldn't it? It could be done nice.
Except that building, think of,
I know,
it
you're
used to be
right.
Village Books, and now it's a restaurant.
That doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Me? Alan, are you done?
I'm done.
I agree with Alan that to call these permanent isn't accurate because they're year to year, and we could tell them to take them down. I think the Planning Commission should review any new parklets, but nothing else. And the problem I have with the canopies, or covers, is that if it's a canopy, an umbrella can be closed down if it's windy. And man, there's been some bizarre winds, and I'm worried about a canopy. Unless it's retractable, where they can roll it up, Otherwise, there's been so many weird wind episodes, it's not good. It's scary, actually. Then I'm under limitations. What did I do? Did I miss it? Limitations, parklets must be, number C2, traffic limitations. I thought the state of California passed a law that nothing could be within 20 feet of an intersection. We're not even supposed to have a parking spot by those things, but we do, and I don't care about that, but I think we should change that to a parklet must be at least 20 feet from any street corner or intersection?
The ordinance currently reads under C2, parklets must be at least 15 feet from any street corner or intersection and 15 feet from any active driveway connection.
Yeah, now
So
the
it's at 15
driveway,
right
I
now.
don't know whether that matters, but I think there's a state law that got passed and nobody's enforced it, that it's a 20, we're not supposed to park 20 feet within any intersection, which won't work, and I'm not trying to get that one done, but at least the parklet should have that in there. And I think they started talking about all the numbers of parklets that could be in city blocks. I think it's extreme, 5? And on either side of the street, does that mean both sides are included in that 5, or is it either side can have 5? I don't know.
2.5 on one side.
Okay. You enforce that one. I don't understand what on either side, that's like number 2, I'm sorry, about limitations, number 2 under B. What is either side? 5, it says, I don't know what that means. There are a total of 5 parklets on a block, and I think that's a lot. Our blocks are not very big, downtown especially. I would like to consider 3 at the most. It's kind of weird because it's not really happening. So, so there's another E on the I'm just on the design and operational requirements. E has this 15 feet thing. Landscaping, is this, I don't know, okay, I made all these notes, but I soaked my stuff, so. Do we have something, it talks about needing to make sure that under the platforms of the parklets, they aren't, there's,
Drainage.
Yeah, but what about rodents? There's rats. There's a lot of rats in this area. And I don't know how that's dealt with when they've got that wonderful area to hide out underneath.
That's habitat.
Okay, fine. And the S about visual obstruction to the adjacent businesses, I don't know how that's mitigated, how that is, because can you see this crave in the pipeline signs? It's kind of like, yeah, well, crave's on the one side, but if these dwellings, it says here that they can't block the names of the businesses, but those businesses are the ones with the parklets. So
I guess you can't block your neighbor's business, your neighbor's
I just
sign.
take it out of there. I don't know. Yeah, you can't block your neighbor. Well, I don't know what that's kind of ambiguous in my mind. And, I know, under fees, the base application for new parklets is $250, and it says applicants or private parklets who wish to allow for table service and consumption of alcohol will be charged $50 per month per parking space in addition to the base. Well, why are they charged extra for losing parking when Pipeline and Crave that are only charged $250?
Are you talking, you don't mean Crave, you mean
I mean, not
the
Crave. I'm
Craft
sorry, what's the
House.
name of that place?
The Craft House.
Craft House, thank
Okay,
you.
now I understand.
Sorry, take the Crave back and make it Craft House. But I think that's kind of weird. Why are you charging more for people that have it on their own property and they still have to pay the base as well as parking space fees? When your four of the parking spaces on Mount Shasta Boulevard are gone to the current parklets. See what I mean? They charge $250 a year and they get to have their thing. But if I were to put it in maybe, let's say, Berryvale's parking lot, I'd be charged $250 plus the parking spots that it took, $50 per parking
So
spot.
to be clear, both Pipeline and Craft House should be paying the $250 annually plus $50 per month per stall. And if they're taking up 2 stalls for the parklets, that's an additional $100 per month multiplied by 12 months, and that's an additional annual fee on top of the $250.
Or you take that out of the other one. either way, I mean, it's just not fair to the other people. Why are they charged for their parking and pipeline?
I guess I don't follow the who's doing it and who's not doing it.
I didn't hear you.
You'll have to restate that again, because I didn't follow
Okay,
who's.
so the private parklets on their own property are charged the $250, and this is like probably a temporary summer thing or something.
No, the $250 is not for the private parklets. The $250 is for the parklets that are
Used in addition to the base. The base fee, it says right there, it says, will be charged $50 per month per parking space used in addition to the base application fee. So they're charged $250 plus $50 a shot.
The intent is the base fee is $250 for the permit. And then if there's a parking space, a city parking space that's being taken up, that's additional $50 for each parking space per month.
Yeah, but why isn't pipeline and,
They
they're
are.
not charged for the parking, are they?
They are.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
want to make sure, it doesn't really say that. Because it says applicants for private parklets, and then it puts the $50. It doesn't say it in the base fee. It says all, it should be all parklets.
They are private parklets.
Huh?
The pipeline's parklet is a private.
Then why are we,
We can just strike the word private and just make applicants
Yeah,
for
'cause,
parklets.
Yeah, the private is what's confusing. Okay, that's all. I'm not going to talk anymore.
Thank you, Belinda. Tucson?
Forgive me if I missed any language in here, but what about maintenance as far as if it gets damaged or if it gets dirty because it's all along the road? And what kind of time frame would that need to be repaired or cleaned or whatever?
There is the very last one.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think there's a timeline parameter, but there is a maintenance section. It's the last section, and it does talk about the applicant being responsible for general maintenance and the costs associated with the maintenance. But you're right, there is no, infractions must be corrected within 3 days or 5 days. We don't have that kind of language yet.
I would be in favor of adding something to that effect.
Because, it's interesting, it says that the facility is swept daily and debris is removed from under and around the parklet. And I'm skeptical that anybody's going underneath those, but if they are, that's fabulous
Blower, yeah.
to get all that good rat food out of there.
Well, that's probably why that's in there.
Well-
Every day you need to clean up those little cracker crumbs.
It is a really nice place to live if you're a rat. So, are they really going underneath and cleaning them?
I don't know if they are or not.
I would be darn curious to know about that. Anything else?
When it comes to covering, I see the advantages to have at least some sort of shade covering on there. But if we go that route, it's going to need engineering.
Yeah.
Because of snow and wind, like Belinda was saying. Something more along the lines of retractable or removable fabric shade, as long as it's nice looking, could be a good alternative to that. But then again, if someone does opt to have a more permanent hard covering and go through that expense, they might think about, well, if I just put some plexiglass panels in here, then we'll have a nice enclosure. But I don't think that's the way we'd want to go. So maybe some language to say must not be enclosed.
You're saying, why would they not be enclosed?
Yeah, someone might say, if we put some plexiglass panels, we could make a nice enclosure in here, so that wind and things would.
Oh, right. And you're in favor of doing that?
I'm not.
You're not in
I'm
favor?
not.
Okay, I misunderstood.
No, it's a different.
But those
Maybe something
tensile,
very different.
yeah, that's the engineering for those canvas things is, that needs to happen. I think retractable, just because they're retractable, doesn't make them free of potential wind
No, it doesn't.
problems.
No, not at all. And then, looking at what's there now, parklet right next to another parklet. I'd want them to be complementary looking to each other rather than contrasting.
5 in a row. 5 in a row, or do we have to have, should there be?
Yeah, should there be a spacing or?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that parking in between is really inefficient, though.
Yeah, in between them, that wouldn't
Yeah,
work so well.
That's why there should be a limit on the, not 5. But I tried to jaywalk. In that area, and I forgot those were there, and I was like, how little animals try to get across the freeway.
Get in.
I was going, imagine if there were 5 of them.
As far as coming to Planning Commission, would these new, more permanent parklet structures come to us first for approval? That's what I would want, and then every year after that, it could be staff. Unless there's some significant changes, yeah.
Okay, so new or significant changes. Okay.
That's it.
Great, okey-doke. So I am in agreement definitely in agreement about the Planning Commission's role with everybody else. It sounds like we have some consensus about what permanent means, because, again, if it's completely permanent, I feel like there's concrete involved, and these aren't permanent. These are potentially removed if they don't meet their annual renewal approval. So replacing the word permanent's not the answer, as far as I'm concerned. And then as far as, I don't really feel the need to tell them anything about a canopy, because sometimes the last thing I want is a canopy. I would rather have that warm sun on me and a wind block than sunshade. So I would just as soon not touch that. And other than that, that's all I have. Even though this isn't a public hearing, I will just offer up an opportunity if anybody wants to chime in on this before we come back next time to vote on a resolution. So you've got 3 minutes. If you'd like to chime in, come on up in a not official public hearing.
Okay, Johanna Altorfer in a not official public hearing. In general, I am in favor of parklets. I think they add a quaintness to the downtown, and it's been very popular in many cities. And I think it helps attract people to the downtown businesses, quite honestly, because if you have a receptive, happy downtown, people are more apt to stay. Anyway, but then I do think we need to have safety, so like having Jersey barriers, which are those concrete medians on highways, something that a car cannot accidentally, someone's texting and driving and oops, there they go. So I would think a concrete barrier would be a good requirement to have for safety. Cleaning and maintenance, one of the concerns that was brought up by other Mount Shasta residents was sidewalk issues with grease from the kitchen. The sidewalk tends to get black from and slippery, so that can be a danger. And I would recommend that you have like a 7-day maintenance and repair edict or whatever, so that it's done quickly, it doesn't drag on and become an eyesore or whatever. I like the idea of continuity between the different parklets. I do think it would be nice to have, and especially if a parklet goes beyond the business's frontage, I think it would be nice to have approval of the neighboring businesses to make sure that they're in agreement with all of this. Because they may lose business, especially, I think the pipeline may be in front of one of the other businesses. And so I would think that other business would have a right to, they're using their street frontage, so to speak. And so I think they should be able to weigh in on it and have some sort of a veto approval. How you structure that, I'm not really sure, but I think that needs to be part of the conversation so that everyone's happy and we don't have infighting. And I agree with the removal of permanent. And yeah, and just in general, you were mentioning plexiglass. I mean, we shouldn't have anything that's not structurally sound, because then it becomes a safety issue, because that could blow out or whatever. So I think that's all I had to say on that. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Those were my thoughts.
All right, anybody else like to come speak to us?
Can I? Esperanza.
I know, so we're talking about the parklet ordinance. Rumor has it that you may have been interested in talking about Danco.
The housing project on Chestnut?
Yeah, we just wanted to know about it. Trying to be more informed.
Okay, so just for people who can't hear what they just said, they weren't planning to speak, they were just interested in hearing what we were talking about. We didn't miss an opportunity to hear from them, and the public hasn't missed their input. Thank you. Okay, so it sounds like you have feedback from all of us, and Johanna. Sure, go ahead, Tim.
Microphone.
19.03.130 fees. The second paragraph on fees. Oops. Or maybe, I'm sorry, it's 19.03.140 insurance, sub A. Insurance shall provide coverage not less than $2 million or $4 million per occurrence, depending upon the parameters outlined in the encroachment permit. To me, that's vague. And I think $2 million is a lot of insurance to obtain in this city. I think there's only 2 contractors in the city that have $2 million of coverage for their companies. And I don't recall why we included the $4 million.
So that might be something to maybe look at clarifying language in that paragraph?
Yes.
Okay.
And unless there's good reason to go $4 million, I think $2 million would probably be enough.
I know, right, what are the parameters? We don't know, obviously, the way it's written.
Maybe if it was someone was injured, during an accident, maybe that's why, just thinking. If someone was injured during an accident in the parklet, I know.
I can also check the materials that were submitted for previous permits, because obviously we have 2 parklet permits now with all of their insurance information included, so I can also take a look to see what we already have on file.
Okay.
That sounds good. To Johanna's point about the greasy sidewalk, might be something to clean a little more often. And the maintenance.
Could they put a industrial carpet down like people have in their stores?
Trip hazard.
Huh?
That screams
Well, I
trip
know, but
hazard.
all of our stores have those in them, and then they take them up at night. They don't leave it down. It's,
Well, actually, I'll defer to somebody who's very knowledgeable about those things.
Yeah,
about
I know
what's
that
safe and what makes sense on
we
the
have
sidewalk.
rugs all over the place like that. I mean, and that's what Stecklet does. He delivers rugs and things. But maybe, and I imagine they would even have one inside their doorway. They might have that already. So I don't know whether that would be a solution
You're suggesting these rugs to be placed?
on
the
the
sidewalk.
across the sidewalk or the walkway. I mean,
Where-
I don't, it's just an idea.
Public
Because
Works will have to
It's
weigh
really
in
hard
on
to
that.
wash a sidewalk.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, it'd have to be like a steam thing.
yeah, and you can't,
Well,
every 7 days? Yeah,
well, I
that's
don't know
why.
how quickly it accumulates. So
Well,
I
yeah,
don't
we
know.
just put 7 days in there. That was one of the suggestions.
Yeah, I have that.
But a carpet could, or one of those industrial things could be rolled up every night, put away, and then rolled out when they're
Right, or just mitigate the greasy sidewalk, however it makes sense. I don't know. Anything else, commissioners? Okay, I think we have finished up with item 9, our parklet ordinance. Item 10, Planning Commission and Planning Director comments, and we've got Planning Commission first. So, Tucson?
I don't have any today.
No? Okay, Belinda?
I'm just eager tonight. It's
Oh,
bad.
good.
I think I'm hungry. So we talked about the parklet lighting, and the lights should be turned off, you know, and they should be downward facing and all that kind of stuff. And we talked about the ornamental lights in one of our meetings not that long ago, about how we like those little round lights. They're charming. Well, I know that the Singing Bowl place down by the post office, I think they leave theirs on all the time. They're strung across their parking lot, and they're not there, you know, it's at night. So I think they should be requested to follow that same policy. I mean, I like them, but they shouldn't be on all night. It's dark sky, you know, all that kind of stuff. That's all.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think so.
Alan?
Yeah, it would be enforcement. It's not an ordinance or a study.
Okay. Nothing, Tim?
I just want to say it's been a pleasure.
Oh, good.
No. Nay.
And anybody who's watching, we still have a vacancy for Planning Commission, so if anybody'd like to join us, please apply. I have two things. Relevant to Belinda's comment, I think that, and actually I was talking to our new building inspector. I've learned that just because we pass conditions of approval, that doesn't mean that the building inspector has any idea. And if he doesn't have an ordinance that's specific, in this case, to lighting is what I'm thinking about now, this stuff just drops off the table. So I would like to propose that we check in with the city council and that we should pursue a dark sky ordinance that is actually on the books, because we have references, we've got plenty of support for that in our general plan, in various things over the years. It's always a condition of approval. Let's just put it in there, a dark sky, and also wildlife protection, particularly for migratory birds and other wildlife. I think it's important, and I think that way we'll have the teeth, and we don't always have to add it anyway. And we can have the conversation with the community about where it applies. Yeah. Right? I mean, because it's, you know, commercial, you know, anyway. My second, and okay, so do other commissioners agree that that's something that we should pursue?
What?
That dark sky ordinance? Something to think about. I mean, and that we would want Kim to come back with.
In terms of the dark sky ordinance, you're not talking about suggesting that we get rid of the ordinance, are you?
I am
that we just take a look at it?
We actually
Make sure we have
develop
it?
a dark sky ordinance for the city of Mount Shasta.
Oh, perfect.
We don't currently have one.
Great.
Because we don't have one. And we used to have a glare ordinance, and I don't know where that went. But somebody cleaned up the municipal code once and it disappeared. So I think we need it. So if everybody's kind of in agreement, this is not, you know, it's not on the agenda. This isn't an agenda item. But if people feel like they're game, yes, do we have a little? Yep. Okay. My second request is that the agenda packets have page numbers from beginning to end.
What?
Because if I dropped tonight's packet, it would have been over.
That's why I paper clipped.
So if there were page numbers from beginning to end, that would make it a lot easier. And do we really
That's
need,
easy.
I mean, do
What
we
else?
really need all these blank pages? I don't know, like.
It's because we're trying to print everything double-sided.
Yeah, I'm
So
cool
when
with
we
that.
put all the PDFs together, we're trying not to have a document start on the back side of a piece of paper. But if it makes no difference to you, then we can take out all the extra blank pages, that's fine. We can do that.
I don't know, my, you know, preserve trees thing says, like, blank, intentionally blank page, put something on there. And if it's a PDF, you'll never know.
Yeah.
That's
So
my
we can do
2
that.
cents. Thank you. Kim, what do you have for us?
Give me 1 second.
If somebody's making a noise, can they stop making a noise? Oh, go figure.
It's not our
It sounds like there's a
audience.
phone in the kitchen.
Trying to find their
Smoke alarm, carbon monoxide alarm.
Oh,
It's gas.
oh, thank you. Okay.
Interesting.
All right.
Okay.
Back to Kim's comments for us.
Okay, there are a few items. So first of all, thank you for meeting tonight. I know it's been a minute due to various reasons. I'm very happy to be here. I hope you're happy to be here. Thank you for being here. Lots of things going on. So many things are going on. Planning Commissioner application. I do have a Planning Commissioner application from one Michael Penrose from our Rotary. So the application has been submitted. He's been out of town, so that application is going to the City Council at the next City Council meeting, and if they appoint him in, then he should be here for the May Planning Commission meeting. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes as planned, and we will have our 7th and final Planning Commissioner seated by next month's meeting. So there's that item. Under B, the landing master plan. It's been a minute, so if I could just rewind a little bit. Back in June of last year, city staff issued a notice of availability for the 120 acres of the landing to be developed. And so this notice of availability went out to the world saying, hey, city has surplus property. Dear developers anywhere and everywhere, if you so wish, please submit us a development application. Priority for the development applications will go to those developers who are agreeable to putting in 25% of residential units as deed restricted affordable. So that comes down from the Surplus Lands Act at the state level. At the end of the 60 days, one development team approached the city with a non-binding offer. So the city is in negotiations with that developer right now to develop all 120 acres of what we know as the landing. Separate from that is the city also has roughly $200,000 left over in grant money to be used within the next year. There are guidelines about how that grant money can be used. It's been determined that the city is allowed to use the grant money for what we would call a master plan. So an RFP went out about a month ago for somebody to develop a master plan for all 120 acres. So now we're drilling down a little bit and identifying where the residential land uses are going to be, where the commercial land uses are going to be, where maybe we'll have some open space, gateway, trail, whatever, but we're asking a consultant team to come forward now with a master plan that then the developer who's on the books to do this, they have a blueprint in which to follow. So that RFP period closed last Thursday. In total, the city received 14 proposals. 14 bids have come in. So I am in the process of reviewing about 1,000 of those pages right now. There's a committee of me, it's myself, the city manager, and the public works director. We're going to powwow and go through some of these bids tomorrow and spend a couple of hours taking a look at it. But the RFP does issue a grading system, so they're going to be scored on different elements, and we'll narrow it down. We'll probably go through an interview process because we'll want to interview all of these consultants, have time to have some dialogue, because this is really the one last and final chance to get this done right. So we want to get this done right and ask all the questions before we commit to something. So that's happening. 14 bids, we will be looking at that this week, and in a short amount of time here, we'll be getting started with the master plan process. It's a truncated process. We're looking at getting this done within 6 months, and inside of these 6 months, we're planning to have 3 different town hall meetings, the goal being that we solicit anybody and everybody in town who wants to have an opinion about what should be the land uses for the landing, we want to hear from everybody. So there are going to be 3 town hall meetings, probably a presentation before the Planning Commission, probably a presentation before the City Council, checkpoints along the way. But at the end of the 6 months, we want to have a really good, solid plan, feasibility studies, phasing plans, whatnot, so that a developer coming in to do this has all the tools that he needs, and it's not just another paper plan that's going to be shelved. So that is the latest update for the landing as I have it this minute. It has consumed a lot of time at the staff level in the last 6 months. Just we've had weekly meetings with the developers, and you know, it's one thing to want to commit to doing affordable housing. It's another thing to actually connect the dots and do it, because it's a very arduous set of steps, and there are scoring requirements and applications, and it's not just as easy as saying, we're gonna do affordable and it's done. There's a whole set of things that have to be done. So we're navigating through all of that with the help of HCD and making sure that we do things the right way. But
Feasibility study includes an
Microphone.
feasibility study includes an economic feasibility?
it does, there is, yeah. So we're sifting through those right now, yeah, with consultants.
Is there also missing middle housing?
There is definitely a missing middle component. We're calling that, for lack of a better term, workforce housing for now. But yes. So that's the landing. That's the landing master plan. So we'll be kicking that off shortly. The third thing that's on my desk is a master fee schedule update. So most jurisdictions will go through and update their fee schedule on an annual basis, because we want to make sure that the fees we're collecting are in line with how much it costs us to do things. Here in Mount Shasta, we have not done this in a few years, and so this master fee update is going to have a little bit of a sticker shock component. So there is an ad hoc committee that's been formed with 2 council members and also city staff, and so we're working through the pieces of how we're going to reset some of these fees. But, you know, building fees, planning fees, all of those fees, the $250 that's in here, you know, for the parklets, is that still appropriate? Because we set the $250 a number of years ago. Is that still enough? Are the $50 per month per stall enough? So a lot of the fees are being discussed, so more just an FYI for the Planning Commission, that's a big task that's being undertaken by staff right now, so that we can get with the times, and so that when we have future development plans come in, that staff has a mechanism to actually charge what it costs us to provide those services. So that's happening. That's a big part of my time. Another thing that's happening right now is back in November, I'm switching to D, Mobile Home Rent Control Ordinance. Several members of the community approached City Council back in November last year with the concern that within the Shasta Horizons mobile home and RV park, that the new landlords were charging an excessive amount of rent. And it's been hard to figure out what excessive means, because do you count the rent? Do you count the rent plus the utilities? Is water included? Is sewer included? What's included, what's not included? The parameters have been kind of fuzzy for us to pick through. But ultimately, as of today, where we stand right now is that the City Council has asked staff to prepare a rent stabilization ordinance that's specific for the mobile home parks. So we're looking at creating a rent control ordinance for mobile homes. So that will be for the community that's within the city limits. So that is happening. That's going before the council. Item E is a short-term rental ordinance. Another thing that I read through since joining the team here is that there might be some internal inconsistencies or vague language regarding our short-term rental ordinance. For example is somebody asks for and obtains a short-term rental permit to legally operate. However, over the last 12 months, they haven't reported any TOTs because maybe there aren't any guests. And right now, there really isn't a mechanism or a way for the city to take that permit back and issue it to somebody else who will submit TOTs. So perhaps there's room in the ordinance somewhere to update, massage the language a little bit, make it clear, maybe create a floor so that anybody who has a short-term rental permit has to submit so many dollars, $500 quarterly, monthly, annually, whatever, in TOT. Otherwise, they're taking a permit away from somebody else who could actually be renting out units and providing TOTs back to the city. So that's something that staff is looking at. There may be some other things that we look at, but that's one way in which STR ordinance could be updated. And then F, the last thing I have on the agenda or for the update tonight is the tiny homes on wheels ordinance. So that's another thing that went through the Planning Commission sometime last year. Then it went through City Council. I wouldn't call it an issue, but what's happening now is there are real folks within our community who are looking at implementing the first set of tiny homes on wheels, or maybe even the tiny homes on wheels village. And word for word, as it's written in the ordinance, it's kind of unclear and vague in terms of what the exact rules are. And so staff has been spending a lot of time interviewing the president of the Tiny Homes on Wheels Association, local builders, folks who are actually building the tiny homes on wheels, interviewing other jurisdictions and figuring out what pieces in their ordinances do they have that we don't have in ours that maybe we can bolster or supplement to make it super clear. Because I think the messaging is people are ready to do this now, and we don't want to be in a position where we're unclear about what the parameters are. So we're looking at probably doing an update to the tiny home on wheels ordinance, just so that everyone's clear on what the next steps are, because we want to make this something that's easy for people to read, digest, understand, and know what the next steps are, because right now it's kind of vague. So that's another thing that we're working on. That gets me to, if we're ready, item number 11, which is
item 11, yes.
Future agenda items. The general plan amendment section, so the land use, noise, and safety elements are still kind of hanging out there and kind of lingering. I do not have the benefit of having any staff or consultants to help out with these exercises because the grant money that Jeff was using last year have since been expended, completed. So those items we're picking through, and by we, I mean me, I'm a department of one. So we're working on the updates. They will come back before the Planning Commission as things are buttoned up and I have chunks that are digestible for you guys to review and provide input on. But all of this to say that there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
So is there, the state of California is requiring that these all be updated?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have to do that, yeah.
Got it. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you.
That's all I got.
That's the end. And so item 12, adjournment. Well, usually that's it. What do you have?
I'd like to propose adding as a future agenda item a real property vacancy ordinance.
What? Vagrants?
Real property vacancy ordinance, that if a property is vacant for X months, needs to pay some sort of payment or penalty.
The second home, so that the second home people, I think that's what New York City's trying that right now.
Is that a state, is that going to, should that be a state thing, or can a city do that? I know that, I guess it is, because I had friends that lived in Victoria for a while, and because they weren't Canadian citizens, they said, you were taxing you 8% on your property tax thing, and they moved. It was interesting, because, I mean, that was enough for them to say, second home, I don't need it, you know?
Well, and again, I mean, it was suggested by the developer tonight as one possibility for us to look at, I think, anyway. And again, there have been a number of other jurisdictions that have adopted ordinances like that, so I think we would have some templates.
I think it's a great idea. I think that empty houses don't do us much good. I think they're hard on our community.
Okay,
So-
adding that to the list.
Take it to the city council and let us know if we can pursue it. All right, any other future agenda items? All right, then I am going to adjourn our special meeting.
Special
And
meeting.
our next meeting will be held on Tuesday, May 19th. Thank you, everyone. Boy, that was a long one.
19th.